It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here, and we have a special guest visiting from Microsoft, Lorraine Bardeen. She's an application developer and the GM of Dynamics 365 mixed reality and perception apps. She's a HoloLens developer. Coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 613, recorded Wednesday, March 20th, 2019. I hate funny. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Envoy. Envoy builds beautiful modern software to help businesses elevate the physical workplace experience. With Envoy visitors, you can greet guests with a welcoming, sleek iPad sign-in app while still protecting your people, property, and ideas. Start your free trial today at envoy.com/twit. And by ExpressVPN. Protect your online privacy with one click. Yep, it's that easy. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/windows. And by Wasabi, hot cloud storage. From the founders of Carbonite comes the cloud storage technology that's disrupting the industry. See for yourself with free unlimited storage for a month. Go to wasabi.com, click the free trial button, and use the offer code Windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we get together with the top Microsoft journalists to talk about what's happening in Redmond. And we've squeezed somebody in the middle. Paul Thurrott is here from Thurrott.com. Mary Jo Foley from ZDNet. Mary Jo, who's that in the middle there?
That is the middle of the sandwich today is Lorraine Bardeen, who is the general manager of Dynamics 365 mixed reality and perception apps.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Lorraine. Welcome.
I get your whole title in there. I'm excited.
Finally. Thank you for that.
I know. Finally.
It's a fun space.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I thought I'd just let you tell everybody what you do. I kind of know, but it's better hearing it straight from you.
Absolutely. So I am lucky enough to be responsible for the engineering team that makes our mixed reality business applications. And when I say mixed reality business applications, these are apps that run on and for HoloLens and coming very soon, HoloLens 2. And we also have extended some of these applications to mobile phones, to Android and iOS, depending on the app. So I've been working in this space mixed reality space for about 7 years, and it's just such a fascinating space to be in. And then when you hear the word perception, that's usually when I'm talking about, or when we mean perception and observational data about the real world. So we're talking about bringing in IoT signals and weaving that into our mixed reality applications. And then you heard the Dynamics 365 part. We're part of the Dynamics 365 family of applications, which are all built on the Power Platform.
Power Platform, woo! Yet again, comes up on Windows Weekly.
Paul, you and I will just sit over here in the corner and shut up, I guess.
Yeah, so Leo, remember when we were watching the HoloLens 2 rollout and they showed off these apps like Remote Assist and Dynamics 365 Layout and some of the new apps that are going to run on iPhone and Android phone? That's Lorraine's team.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things we kind of observed is this really seems to be an enterprise play, and even mostly about Azure, given the Dynamics 365 brand.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that you're absolutely right. And what we're hearing from our customers, we've had Remote Assist and Layout in market for several months now, since October. And what we consistently hear from customers is that they're both ready to innovate, to jump in and be leaders in their industries in digital transformation, but they also only want to jump in if they feel that sort of confidence that these applications will tie into their IT infrastructure. They want to know that any investments they make are going to benefit the full company and the different departments. And so our decision to move these applications onto the Power Platform And on top of Azure means that we're not introducing any new data silos into their organizations, but rather if you're using Remote Assist, it's preloaded with the work order from whatever field service application you're using, whether Dynamics 365 or not. And then as you go through the job, you can then save the data right back into your, Azure Data Lake and using Common Data Service so that all this stuff is usable again. We don't want to introduce innovation that ends at a company. We want to introduce innovation that really transforms and helps them achieve their goals.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Some of these apps, some of them are no-brainers. I feel like Remote Assist is something that Paul and I probably saw when we first saw the HoloLens 1, because you could do some repairs and have somebody assist you remotely, even if it was something simple like plumbing or whatever. But these other ones, these newer ones like layout and the product visualize and the guides, I was curious how you come up with the ideas, like how you prioritize which apps you as a Microsoft are going to develop.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one of the hardest we thought it would be one of the hardest parts of the job because, we're app developers and what we want to do is make products that are useful for people. And so we were lucky enough from when we first announced HoloLens many years ago to work with hundreds and hundreds of companies and just hear from them where are their hotspots, where they have urgency to solve problems right now. That's what we're focused on, near-term urgency, where we can really bring value that they can take to their bottom line right away. And so to your point, we heard right away that, there's nothing like HoloLens and first-person point of view computing for getting help from an expert who's far away, who can see into your world and help you solve any problem. It could be plumbing, but it could also be a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment that if you take it offline, your company is losing money every second, and the expert's in Switzerland, right? So the whole area of remote expert assistance, we heard that loud and clear, and we followed that same process to hone in on the other highest value application spaces. So layout, similar idea. All of the space planners, manufacturing line, safety experts and process engineers, retail, et cetera, who need to make decisions on is the flow of equipment, people, and goods through the space safe every single day? Do I have a good idea of how to plan for the next line rollout? We'll be able to plan with digital content instead of planning with costly physical build-out is a huge breakthrough for this space, where the only way to plan digitally right now is behind a 2D screen in an office. And then guides, it came back from companies over and over and over. We have a retiring workforce. More than 25% of middle skill workers retire in the next 10 years globally, and they're taking their knowledge out the door with them. Having a on-the-spot, real-time, available anywhere product like guides you can use to learn how to do a new job, to learn how to do a new skill, or to quickly and flexibly move to another job during the day, that's going to be a big help for the companies. And so the how, just respond to that feedback, hear what they're saying, and then try to deliver a product that's useful globally across industries.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't watch the HoloLens introductions with you guys, but sitting there in the audience, watching it, what I thought of was just how much more honed it seemed. Like the first version was interesting just as a technology, and here's some ideas about maybe how this technology might be used. But this time around, it seems like you've benefited from the years of experience with customers, et cetera. But it's not so much, it doesn't seem like a vertical solution anymore to me. It seems like something that would have a place in far more enterprises, than before. It seems like more of a real product almost.
And that's, I'm an app developer, right? And that's what our team does. And so I feel the same. And I'm thrilled with all the improvements made for HoloLens 2. It's so much more comfortable for long-term use, which a lot of companies are eager to do now. It's beautifully immersive. We've shared the field of view increases, and that helps workers as well. And then, we've really focused where my team plays the most in delivering value through HoloLens 2 is in the out-of-box value. So making sure that it ships with a bunch of apps that companies can use. Well, in many cases, they're going to develop their own applications in parallel using the Azure Mixed Reality Services, using their own ideas and their own specific use cases. But we want to make sure we can play a part. And then you probably saw, Paul, a number of the new innovations in user interaction, we're bringing those to our applications every place it makes sense. So you will start to see as you saw people pushing buttons, like Julie on stage pushing buttons. That's really helpful for some of our workers who are moving quickly, and that works better for them in some cases than maybe an AirTap would. And in other cases, we're using head gaze or eye-based input.
Right. Yeah, Mary Jo and I both got to try HoloLens too, and it is a significantly better experience, like you said, better field of view and all that. And there's in the same way that with the first version, kind of the central magic of it was that the hologram seemed to be rooted in the real world. The ability to kind of push on an object. There's no field-based feedback, obviously, but it still translates somehow into a real thing. And it is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think I didn't mention yet that we're also listening to feedback, and in some cases, field service workers are moving quickly. They have a mobile phone in their pocket, and in some cases, they want to be able to pull that phone off and get some of the benefits of sort of a mixed reality app without moving directly to the HoloLens, or in some cases, they don't have access to HoloLens yet. And so we've also extended remote assist to Android phones. And what that enables, like the clear scenario that's popping up over and over is there's so many inspection scenarios in field service and in manufacturing. And so this way you can call up someone who's maybe certified to do the inspection or a manager. They can look through the screen of your phone using remote assist, see exactly what's going on, maybe annotate right into that space, just like with remote assist on HoloLens, and then sign off, take a picture, and move on. Now, what we find is that where remote assist on HoloLens is really non-negotiable is when you need your hands-free, heads-up hands-free work. There's nothing like that. There's nothing for that like HoloLens.
Lorraine, from a developer point of view, is that two separate apps? What's the commonality between the two? Is it easy to get an Android app once you've got the HoloLens app?
Yeah, so for us, I would say 80% or so is similar. 80% or so is the same. We don't want to be writing the same feature over and over and over per platform. We use Unity, of course, we use Unity as an engine for the 3D engine. Of course. Unity has a lot of great functionality that we use, and it enables us to abstract a lot of the differences per platform. And then, of course, on Android, we use some of the AR Core functionality. On iOS, we use some of the AR Kit functionality to understand the space in front of you. And then the core app logic is the same across all of the platforms.
That's kind of cool that you can do both.
Yeah.
And I appreciate as a geezer, the head geezer interface, I think is really, no, I'm kidding. I'm joking, although that might be my new business card.
I'm curious about the spatial demo that Microsoft did during the HoloLens 2 launch, and it made me wonder if Microsoft itself would do anything around the whole idea of collaboration apps for HoloLens and mobile devices for mixed reality specifically, or if that's kind of an area you're saying that's more something individual users or partners would do.
I would say it's both. We love the work that the spatial team is doing, and obviously that's why we chose to highlight them and really celebrate the innovation they're bringing. And then also, collaboration is just something we believe in across all of our applications. So remote assist is one version of collaboration where it's really there's an expert sort of sitting on your shoulder version of collaboration. And we're bringing, for example, we're bringing group calling to remote assist so you can work with multiple different people around the world all at the same time on the same problem. And then, there's another application I didn't mention that we have underway in preview right now, which is called Product Visualize. And this, we've also done something different here where we're releasing it first onto mobile because where we're seeing the feedback and where Product Visualize is used, it's used to visualize a complex product in real world context to help in a sales conversation for really complex products that need a lot of configuration. So maybe that's a car, or maybe it's earth moving equipment, or maybe it's a robot for a factory. Being able to hold up your iOS tablet or phone, have a conversation with the customer and help them evaluate this decision really shortens that time to purchase. Now we're offering that first on iOS, but that's a great example of something where you might want to bring in a viewer on HoloLens on another platform, et cetera. And we're certainly open to doing that, totally based on what we hear from customers.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, I realize this, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love the holoportation stuff because it just kind of makes your mind open up to all these crazy things you could do if that ever becomes reality,
Like actual reality.
Like actual reality, not just mixed reality.
Does Windows mixed reality still play a role here at all? I mean, it seems like, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago when we were talking about that a lot, Windows mixed reality was almost like the consumption experience. So if you had someone designing a car with HoloLens, you might have a bunch of guys with Windows mixed reality headsets on, viewing it in real space or in a 3D space or whatever. I mean, has that story changed at all with HoloLens evolving?
Well, I would say it's exactly like all the other platforms. So, and you could maybe say in our ideal world, we would have all of our applications available on every platform simultaneously at all times. Mm-hmm. And what we really do is we just pay close attention to where there are clusters of urgency with our customers. So layout, for example, is supported on Windows Mixed Reality because if you're designing a complex space, it's very helpful to have that full immersion that VR provides, or Windows Mixed Reality devices provide. So you see scenarios of companies using layout both on HoloLens and on Windows Mixed Reality. Now, if you think about something like Remote Assist or Guides, which you saw at the announce, those are both cases where it's really critical to see the machine in front of you, the ATV in front of you, whatever you're assembling. Right. So the physical world is so critical to the value proposition that we're not seeing strong use cases quite yet for VR in those types of scenarios. So it depends answer, I would say.
Okay. So in mobile, obviously, you can have an AR experience and be in the space.
That's right.
Whereas in mixed reality, obviously, you're in a completely virtual space.
Exactly.
What about any kind of crossover between what Microsoft's doing in computer vision and robotics with what you're doing with the mixed reality apps and Dynamics? Is there a crossover or any kind of similarities or integrations that are available or coming?
Yeah, I mean, big time. So first of all, we have some of the most advanced computer vision work that Microsoft's ever done in the HoloLens, of course. And it's facing from the person's point of view out in the real world. So right there, we're already offering application developers like me an excellent opportunity to understand, at very least, the surface of the real world. And over time, more and more, thanks to services like mixed realities, Azure Spatial Anchors, the other mixed reality services, which we're going to start incorporating and using the benefit of those services into our applications. Another thing that you will see us increasingly incorporate, we work closely with the Azure IoT team, the Azure Digital Twin team, and just making sure that as first-line workers move through their space, use products like Remote Assist and Guides and Layout and Product Visualize, over time we'll make sure that they have access to data that's being produced by IoT devices in their space that might be relevant to that scenario. And so there's a very, very strong connection between IoT telemetry, computer vision-based observational telemetry about the physical space, and then, of course, the first-person point of view, computer vision, and compute on the HoloLens. I think you'll hear a lot more from us in this, and that's not even a foreshadowing-y statement. It's just absolutely, by definition, all of these things exist, live, and provide value in the physical space. So anything that's useful and interesting about understanding that physical space, if you think about how much companies know about digital activity of their customers and how little they know about physical space activity, I think there's just like a lot of opportunity to bring value here.
Stay tuned. We're ready. Maybe at Build. Maybe we'll hear more. Who knows?
Well, she knows.
She knows, but she's not saying. I was watching her face to see if she'd give a little wink, but no.
Didn't know you'd be put on the spot like this, did you, Lorraine?
Well, there's going to be so many exciting things at Build, as always. How could there not be?
Yes, exactly. Good answer.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to it.
I had a question just about customer types that you're seeing right now for HoloLens 2. So, I feel like we always see manufacturing. lots of automotive, lots of manufacturing. Like we saw Mattel and we saw Trimble and Chevron. But is there any kind of surprise group to Microsoft? Like, wow, we didn't think this group of people would be really into this, but they seem very interested in HoloLens.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the meta sort of industry is any industry that has complex operation chains, right? So any case where you have to make something, well, first you have to design something, then you have to make it. And making it is complex. Then you have to distribute it somehow, and then you need to service and repair it. So you often catch us for a demo or something in the middle of one of those segments, like right in the middle of manufacturing, or in the service and repair segment for field service, or maybe in the design segment when you've seen some of the automotive examples. There are a lot of industries that this describes, like you mentioned, everything from consumer goods to entertainment-related goods to manufacturing and automotive. But really the crux of the urgency around these workflows being solved and improved is in these complex operations where you have people who know what they're doing, but they have to keep everything in their head right now. They don't have any access to compute at all, because they have to keep their hands free to do their work. And so we're bringing them, in many cases, their first work computer ever that's going to bring value right into their digital world. And then because we're part of the Dynamics 365 family and built on the Power Platform, for their company, the benefit there is all the work that they do, the value that they provide back in the system goes into shared data, so that next time you bring up your CRM app or your customer insight app, you have all that data there already to really provide your company with a richer, higher value data set.
Mm-hmm. This is all gelling for me about, I used to always have trouble kind of figuring out, why is this a Dynamics product, the mixed reality apps? But the more you talk about the whole complex, step-by-step, make the product, design the product, service product, it sounds a lot like ERP.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
So I'm like, oh, okay.
Sell and support the product. And, I've been at Microsoft for, millennia, but when I moved into the, when our team moved in the Dynamics 365 family, it was just so, it was like, this is such a perfect fit, because we, as you just said, we think about the companies and the exact same way. Companies are all dealing with, how do I make products at high quality that are highly desired by my customers? Point two, how do I really serve my customers better and better? How do I continue to grow my people, my talent, and make sure that they're proceeding and providing value, but also growing in their careers? And then, gosh, I have complex operations. How do I keep those transforming over time? They think about all four of those at once, and that's exactly how our mixed reality application portfolio is shaping up. That's what customers are demanding. So there's such a close mapping to sort of sense of purpose, and then also how we talk about businesses.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just going to repeat myself, because I really, it's funny how it's striking to me how widely applicable that is today. And, in 2015 or so, I think it was 2015 when you folks first showed off the HoloLens, it just was like, what is the... Like, what's the application here? Or what's the, who is this for? And there were neat demos eventually, like NASA and things like that, where it's like, this is really cool, but they're not really a normal, enterprise or they are actually. But I mean, that's a very special use case kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, it's just, like I said earlier, it's just striking how broadly applicable this technology is suddenly. And obviously it's just going to expand out from there, which none of that's a question. I'm sorry, but it's just it's just interesting, because it just seemed like technology for technology's sake almost, and now it really seems like a real end-to-end solution.
One of the things that I delight in is in many of these companies, the first-line workers who, if they have a computer, it's like on one of those wheelie stands that's sort of in the corner and it's dusty and you have to go over to it and boot it back up. The first-line workers in many companies now have by far the most groundbreaking technology in the company, because they're the ones using a head-worn holographic computer. I just think that's really neat. It's a great example of how with the right sort of focus, as you said, on real problems that real people are facing, technology can really leapfrog our expectations and land in a place we didn't expect. So, to answer your question earlier, Mary Jo, I would say, I think it was Mary Jo, the part that we didn't expect that is the most delightful here to me is that we're serving relatively underserved people. It's really for me, it's a big part of Microsoft's mission to empower people and organizations around the world, where we're empowering workers who are going from no compute to some pretty advanced, exciting, cool, interesting, and helpful compute.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess just to further what I just said, I mean, it seems like in the wake of the release of the first version, there were businesses that needed that thing, and they were, vertical and, very specialized in many cases. And again, that's I think the maturity of this is just as you move to HoloLens 2 and some of the new interaction possibilities, it becomes, it just becomes a broader thing. And that's interesting to me because, covering Microsoft for a long time, I feel like I didn't get HoloLens at first in a way, other than that it was awesome. I mean, for what it was, but I didn't see how it kind of fit in. And now you guys have positioned it really well within the entire ecosystem that you have. It's amazing how quickly it kind of came together.
I'm
just repeating myself.
It's been seamless.
Right, it seems like that to us on the outside.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think it's important to me to say that, like, I really appreciate that in the fast-moving world of technology, we have had the opportunity to spend a couple of years really listening, right, and paying attention to what people really need. And I think it's that time that has given us the focus, and I'm really, really grateful for it, frankly, because there's nothing like having our teams talk to customers, these workers who are using this and are proud and excited, and they also just get it. They get how it's going to change and improve their work life. And that's just incredibly satisfying.
Yeah, I bet. That's neat. I mean, a lot of the early HoloLens demos were games, and or game-like things, because I think it's visual and everyone understands it and it's cool, and maybe someday HoloLens becomes a game device or whatever, but obviously that's not where it is now. And it's just, again, it was hard to even imagine how this thing fit in except as some kind of a standalone thing. And it's just like, I'm just repeating myself. I'm sorry. I don't know. I came away really impressed with HoloLens 2. I mean, and wasn't sure what direction Microsoft was going to take it, et cetera. And it was just a dramatic change for me. I mean, I realized inside Microsoft this has been going on for a while, but it just seemed like a really neat not an about face, but just an improvement. I'll stop complimenting it now. I'm sorry.
I mean, I have all day.
Suddenly, she's there all day. She's got 2 hours.
Talk all you want, Paul.
What else do you like about HoloLens, Paul?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone caught this. I've gotten this tip a few times this week. On The Enemy Within on NBC, there was a little HoloLens 2 trailer thing at the end. I've gotten people sending me the clips. They're like, "Did you see this? Did you see this?" I'm like, "No, I don't watch that show. I'm sorry." But
I didn't see that. I'll check it out.
Yeah. It just showed them doing some. I think it's with the new HoloLens, because they were interacting with the holograms with their hands. So I'm like, I think that's HoloLens 2. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So well, thank you so much, Lorraine. It was really great having you on. We've been trying to get you on forever, it feels like, and finally we did.
Yeah.
Well,
so you guys. Sorry.
I was just going to say, we had this great opportunity to talk to people in Barcelona, and the week before in Paris at the Microsoft Business Forward event, we talked about bringing these applications to phones, and it was a busy season for sharing, but I'm really happy to be back with the team now and able to just focus on our products and our customers. And so, if you want to complement the work for another couple hours anytime, I'd be happy.
I'll just send you an email. But
thanks so much.
Thanks, Lorraine. Lorraine
Thank
Bardeen,
you.
Thanks so much.
General Manager, Dynamics 365 Mixed Reality and Perception Apps at Microsoft. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Guys, we're going to get into the rest of Windows Weekly in just a bit, but let me pause for a moment and talk a little bit about our fine sponsor for the hour. And actually, if you've ever visited our studio, you already know about Envoy. That is our login app. In fact, I'm going to launch it right here. For a long time, we used paper forms to get people to, when they, came in and visited. We have, of course, a waiver you have to sign, but also, to get the information into our database. Envoy is what all the other big Silicon Valley companies use. We finally had to get with the modern times and start using it. So when visitors come to the new studio, they'll sign in on the Envoy. We'll give them the information. I'll just put this in as my email address. Whoops. We'll get the information from them that they need, but we'll also get the signature. And I think a lot of businesses in Silicon Valley, of course, have NDAs. They have requirements. They have waivers. Our lawyers make us give you this big long waiver, and it makes it a lot easier for people to sign in. When visitors arrive, they sign in on this iPad kiosk. They enter the details. They sign any legal documents, NDAs, or in our case, the waiver, right on the iPad. And then the Envoy notices their hosts. Isn't that great? Notifies their hosts. It'll alert the employee that the visitors are visiting, saving you time and hassle. Your employee knows who's coming and when, making awkward meetings a thing of the past. No more paper logbook. It doesn't provide any real value. You can sign in unlimited visitors. Yes, you could print badges. We don't make visitors wear badges, but you could do that. You could send alerts when VIPs arrive. You could say, hey, if the president arrives, make sure you notify everybody. It even notifies administrators about unintended guests, which is very useful for your security. You'll boost your office efficiency with smart security that does not intimidate. In fact, you saw how easy and fun it is to sign in. This has eliminated a lot of paperwork for us, a big filing cabinet. It is just so much easier. And if you have other security features you'd like to include, like Wi-Fi access, ID checks, emergency notifications, all of that can be fit right in to your Envoy onboarding experience, giving you enhanced security. And, of course, you'll have data on the visitors in your office. You'll know who's coming. You'll know when they're on site, who they're meeting, why. You won't have strangers wandering about the facility. Envoy Visitors works with the tools you already use. Notifications, for instance, can go through Slack, G Suite, Box. That's where you can save everything. Salesforce Chatter, just to name a few. Designed to help companies of all types, including those in highly regulated industries. Many of you have security and compliance requirements, and so having this Envoy at the front desk really is a great thing. We also have Envoy Delivery, which is fantastic. So when deliveries come, we can automatically log them in at the front desk and let the people know that their box is here. We get a lot of deliveries, so that's really great. Companies, big companies like Nike, Pinterest, and Spotify all have worked with Envoy to welcome over 30 million users. We've added our few dozen to the mix at Twit. Protect your people, your property, and ideas the welcoming way. Everybody loves this. It's such an improvement with Envoy. 10,000 workplaces worldwide choose Envoy to make a great first impression. ENVOY, envoy.com/twit, and you get a free trial of this. And it works just on a stock iPad, so that's awesome. ENVOY.com/twit. We thank Envoy for making our front desk a better experience. Got to get the right side up. Thank you, Envoy. Back we go. Oh, they didn't take the middle box out. I got to do that. There's a chat room in the middle of you. I know. I have to do something here, do something there. Do I click the two box?
She's been replaced by text.
Like that? It's a
I'm
miracle.
still dealing with my uncomfortable new reality as HoloLens fawner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Paul,
look at you.
I got a word with you about your journalistic credibility.
Yeah, please.
What the?
You need to take me out back and slap me around.
No, that's good. If you're enthusiastic about something, I think it's good to share your enthusiasm.
I think he's right, though. When we first saw it, it was kind of like, let's see what they do with this,
less
right?
enthusiastic when it started.
The technology was always amazing, right? Like I said, the ability to route the holograms into real space and have it never jitter or move or shift or whatever. Was is great. It's amazing. It's what makes this work, right? But it had issues, but from a technological perspective, mostly through the field of view thing. But but the broader issue is just like, what is this? Like, where, it was a developer edition. It was, they talked about games, but they were really talking about enterprise. What is this thing? And now it's just part of a much broader ecosystem of apps and services, and it ties into Microsoft's Azure backend. There were real customers using it, which I think have informed it. It's gotten those natural interaction things, which everyone but Mary Jo can use.
One day, right?
It's the new lappable. Now it's going to.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Is it lappable? But, can you use it with your progressive lenses?
Is it progressive lensable?
Right.
Actually,
I totally agree.
I wanted to ask if there was, when the consumer product would appear, but I guess that's not really appropriate, so I just shut up.
Well, yeah, no, you know what? They've just said someday, maybe, possibly. They don't really even have a date, I don't think, unless they probably have one internally, but they don't talk about it in terms of any kind of near-term deliverable.
Yeah. It's just not in the roadmap.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I didn't ask. I didn't want to appear rude during the fawning session. No, I'm teasing.
No, for me, the part that I keep coming back to is when they put the Dynamics name on this, I'm like, why are they calling this Dynamics?
Yeah,
I don't
you and
get
I
it.
we're watching this and
do
wondering.
they have to jam this into some part of the company? Why would they choose Dynamics? Yeah.
But now it actually makes sense why it's there.
Yeah,
I'm like,
totally.
Okay. Manufacturing, okay.
They're right.
Yep.
This is clearly the market for this.
Right.
For now and the foreseeable future. And I think they're smart not to pursue that consumer angle.
Yeah.
Well, and, the other thing is, remember when Apple and then Google both came up with AR capabilities for their mobile device platforms? And the initial thought was like, well, here we go. Like, Microsoft's going to have another market kind of taken out from under them, and everyone has a phone in their pocket, and if this thing can do AR, why would you need this other thing? And she very quickly made a good point about that, which is just there are times when you need to see the thing and use your hands.
Right.
You can't be holding the thing, and there you go. And
but they're great to have a step-down version that you can use ARKit or ARCore.
Yeah.
So that people who don't need that, you get both. And they showed that at the
and that's the other part of it. Instead of running scared from mobile or whatever, they're actually embracing mobile and bringing those capabilities where they make sense to mobile. And so again, it makes it part of more of a cohesive whole, not like a hole in the ground hole. I don't know why it sounded weird as I said it, but
a hole.
A Cool Whip hole. But yes, it is a it's just more of a complete ecosystem. Before it just seemed like this thing.
It did.
And there'll be weird businesses, and I don't mean like the businesses are weird, but they have weird needs, and they will have a HoloLens. And I was like, I just don't quite understand what the point of that is now. But the focus now is obviously much broader, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm really glad we got her on.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's just great.
In other news,
is there other news?
No,
there's no other news.
No other news.
Great show, guys.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Good night. Yesterday we decided, and I think it was the right decision, to live stream Google's announcement at GDC. And on the one hand, they made kind of a significant announcement of the Stadia gaming service, and they had some really interesting technology and ideas. On the other hand, they were completely vague about its availability, its price. They said this year, and in all honesty, they didn't even address the biggest issue, the elephant in the room, which is those ratty little wires that lead from Google servers to your house.
Well, did they even? I didn't watch this, but did they even talk about the cloud part at all? Like, did they actually?
So this is there's a
they were pretty detailed about
they
that
liken.
part.
I likened this at the time to what Microsoft's HoloLens announcement was. It was as much a demo of Google's cloud capabilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
As HoloLens is a demo of Azure.
Okay.
It's kind of in this case, a consumer-facing proof of concept for their cloud.
I would argue it's even less than a proof of concept because there's no way to know that this is happening.
Right.
Right.
I mean, they did have a demo.
And that it can happen at scale.
They did the Assassin's Creed Odyssey demo, and the people who used it said, yeah, it's impressive. There's exactly the kinds of occasional glitches. And it was a little ironic that in Google's own stream of this event, there were quite a few glitches.
Right.
So,
Well, here's what I'll say about this thing. I have a lot to say about it, I guess, but just to break it down to kind of a Microsoft-focused thing. We know that Microsoft is working on Project xCloud. What Google just announced is Project xCloud, except it's from Google. And so you have to look at the things that they're adding that Microsoft probably isn't going to do, like the notion of a specialized controller that is connected directly to the network and is in fact its own client.
That was a revelation. That's kind of interesting. That solves some of the latency, right?
Yeah. But you also have to look, and then there's things they didn't announce: pricing, actual game companies they're partnering with, actual
showing off Doom content. Is not like
Doom is please. It's just that's,
wow, you got Doom on it, huh? Okay,
Doom runs on an Apple Watch, right? Yeah. No, but I mean, look. By the way, they said they have Doom on it. You notice they didn't actually do a gameplay demo of Doom either. But okay, whatever. But when you compare what they're doing to what Microsoft is doing, and once you get past the technical stuff, which is basically identical, the thing that Google is missing is decades of experience in the game industry.
Yeah.
Right. Partnering with all of the major game companies.
They have overcome that a little bit by hiring from the game industry people like Jade Raymond. And so
Two people.
I mean,
I
got two people.
No offense, but two people do not success make. I mean, good for them. But, there are companies with decades of experience like Microsoft, vested interest like Microsoft, legacy hardware platforms like Microsoft that are going to approach this in a different way in some ways and from different levels of experience. And so Microsoft has the chance. I believe what they're going to do is bring forward as much as they can of the backward compatibility game titles that will run on the service as well, preserving your investment in the Xbox ecosystem, which is an incredible advantage over a new service that has 0 games.
Right.
And so we don't know if Google is going to sell games individually and or have a subscription service where you get some selection of games for some kind of a monthly cost. They've never said anything about any of that, so we'll see what that is. But the Microsoft approach is very much Microsoft, right? We have this thing in the past, which we'll call a legacy business, that involves hardware and what we'll call on-prem software. And we're going to offer that while we make a transition to the cloud. And we're going to offer those things side by side. And then eventually we're probably going to go all to the cloud stuff, right? They won't say that now because they don't want to screw up their current business, but that's, I think, what we all agree is going to happen eventually.
And they have announced they're doing this whatever cloud thing.
Yeah.
Brad Sams had the Phil Spencer email that was sent out to the company saying, hey, you ain't seen what we're doing at E3.
They'll have their announcement like this at E3. We kind of already knew that was coming. That's fine. We knew Google was going to announce this, basically. It's as expected. So I think the only surprise to Microsoft was probably that controller. Google is a kind of a goofy company, but every once in a while they do this kind of googly thing where you're like, oh, that's
a good idea.
That makes sense. Yeah. That's pretty cool. I think the controller idea was a good idea. Is a good idea, especially in this world of heterogeneous cross-platform usage, right? Microsoft obviously has a controller. They can connect it to mobile devices, whatever. But I like the idea of Chromecast on a big screen, and that's your whole setup, and you have a controller.
How easy is that, right?
It's pretty cool. Yeah, and the other thing that became really clear watching this, which I guess I kind of understood intellectually, but you kind of see it and you're like, yeah, okay, this is going to make sense. The reason that some people choose consoles over PCs is that they're less expensive and they're less complex, right? You can always get more on a PC, as more being more frame rate, more graphics quality, higher resolutions, whatever it might be. But there's a great cost to that, both an actual cost and the complexity cost. And, consoles are just easy. You get up and you go and you're off and running. And this thing does that to consoles, doesn't it, right? It's going to be way cheaper for the end user because there's no upfront hardware cost. It's going to be way simpler. It's going to be way quicker, if everything works out the way they say it's going to. And, one of the problems we have today on a console that will not be a problem on this service, and this cannot be overstated, is the software update problem where you buy a game, you bring it home, install it off a disk, and you still have 56 gigabytes of updates to install.
Yep.
Or you pre-installed it digitally, and day one arrives, and you still have 56 gigabytes. And that 56 gig or whatever the size download goes out to every single person in the world with that game. Every single time it gets updated. With this system, it's just like any cloud computing system. Yep. You update it once in the cloud, essentially.
Yeah,
and
they also on the server side they have this very powerful GPU that NVIDIA, AMD custom designed for them that looked more powerful, frankly, than according to their numbers.
Well,
than an Xbox One X or a PS4.
The problem with this system and where it breaks down compared to a console, especially, is the quality of the experience is going to vary.
Right. That's the real problem. Yep.
Yeah,
it's a huge problem. If you've got gigabit bandwidth with zero latency, you're going to love it.
Yep.
And
but you could have great bandwidth, bad latency, and it's going to be terrible. Yep. You could have okay bandwidth and great latency, and it's
Microsoft, when it does its version of this, will it do it? The other thing I saw as a plus for Google is it'll run on a Pixelbook, as you pointed out, a Chromecast Ultra plugged into a TV.
Yeah.
Is Microsoft going to do something like that, or will you have to have?
So I don't know exactly the scheme Microsoft's going to use. What they're talking about is cross-platform. One of the things we'll talk about a little bit more later is, Microsoft is bringing Xbox Live to mobile and to Nintendo Switch. It's sort of like the when Apple was talking back at CES about bringing iTunes and AirPlay to smart TVs and to smart TVs. I was saying at the time, and we're starting to see that this is true, that for this to really work, it needs to be everywhere. And everywhere includes things like Roku or Amazon Fire TV. Like, you need to get this thing out everywhere. What you don't want to do, and this is something Lorraine just was talking about, is create an entirely new client on every single platform on Earth, right? You don't want to have to natively support Samsung smart TVs, LG smart TVs, Roku, every single thing on Earth. Like, it'd be really complex. And so what you need is some simple remote app, and you're doing everything up in the cloud.
It's called your browser. That's the beauty of this.
Google has, that's the thing. So the one thing Google has almost lucked into in a way is this Chromecast or Google Cast technology, which is built into their browser, is way better in my mind than what the Microsoft's equivalent is, the Miracast technology that's in Windows 10. It allows them to make that the bar. Like, as long as you can run that browser on your device or have a Chromecast, which is an inexpensive sub-$100 4K HDR kind of streamer, then you can play these games. It's smart. Microsoft is going to have to abstract it to that same level. They can't have a rich client of any kind anywhere, right? It has to be this exact thing. So I don't know exactly how they're going to accomplish that.
This will be an interesting test of the new Microsoft and the idea of the unsiloed Microsoft, because the business interests at Microsoft will say, oh no, you got to have it run on Windows or Xbox. It has to run on our products with a rich client, and it can't possibly run on an Android phone or a Chromebook. Yeah. Chromebook will be the test. If Microsoft's solution runs on a Chromebook, that'll be the test.
I think it will.
Yeah, they've said truly cross-platform, right? Yeah. I mean,
it has to.
That's the new Microsoft.
Yeah,
that's the new Microsoft.
It has to.
Yeah.
So can I throw in another question that I had just from watching remotely about all this stuff? So it seems to me like a big part of Google's pitch too was having people be able to watch games, right? And that's YouTube tie-in and all that.
Huge,
so what's Microsoft doing there?
Mixer.
Right?
Yeah, are they?
So here are the numbers, and this is actually to me the other big question mark, right? There are 2 billion-ish people involved in gaming on Google platforms, and what that means is people playing games through Google Play on Android devices mostly. People watching others play games on YouTube, and then there are developers who make games for those things. Google, because they have such a strong presence in game viewing, I'll call it it's game streaming, but not game streaming to gamers, but gamers streaming so others can watch through YouTube, is trying to combine that with people who might want to play the game, right? The idea being, like, my son's typical in this regards. Like, I asked him about this recently. I said, you watch people play games on YouTube, right? he said, yeah. I said, what, why?
No, but he
Like,
watches, I bet you he watches canned videos. I mean, I noticed this too,
Well,
which is that
I
people
would
watch
walkthroughs.
how-to video, walkthroughs, how-to videos.
Yeah.
It started with Minecraft.
He watches
watches
people
live
stream
play?
video gameplay.
Okay.
And the reason he said was, like, in other words, if I'm stuck in a game, I've done this many times. I'll go
Yeah.
up, I'll be over here on the Xbox, and I turn over here to the computer, and I say YouTube.com, or I just do a Google
the game
search.
guide use.
Yeah, I want to walk through.
Yeah.
I'm stuck on level 16. How do I get through the boss? or whatever.
But then there's an esports case.
That's right.
Use case.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think that esport. Well, what my son does is he watches people play video games that he plays to learn new techniques. Right.
I think that's game
that's
guide
very interesting.
mostly,
That's-
right?
That's what.
Isn't that kind of game guide mostly use case? But he is watching
it's
live.
a different form of it because instead of looking for something specific, what he's hoping to see, and I think what he is seeing, is people using techniques that never occurred to him to get to a special place or do a special thing or whatever it is. And then the esports, of course, is humongous, right? Esports is sorry guys, it's probably going to be better than real sports. It's
And
kind
I
of a
think
weird thing.
there's no accident that this is called Stadia.
Right. I
Yeah.
know. The whole
Yeah,
name is about watching,
Yeah.
right?
But you know what, though? Here's what I don't quite get. Like, Google does have a big presence in the game viewing thing through YouTube. But honestly, I don't know that most people think of it as Google. I think they think of it as YouTube.
YouTube.
Like YouTube kind of feels like its own thing.
Yeah, it's not Google.
And I'm a little curious. Like, when you think about the groups of gamers that are out in the world, from some size audience of hardcore gamers who spend lots of money on PCs and upgrade them all the time so they always have the best possible experience, to the tens of millions of people who play console games. We know there are, Sony has sold 80 million something PlayStation 4s. Microsoft has probably sold 30 something million Xbox Ones. There are those guys. And I don't think those guys are going anywhere. Like, either of those two groups, I don't think you're going to sway them to the streaming video thing that Google's doing. I don't think anyone thinks of Google in those fashion. But there's this other audience that's humongous and totally unengaged, right? Who are casual gamers. And the example I always use is my wife, because she plays Words with Friends primarily on her phone. But you see people, playing those little gem games or whatever they play on their phones. I bet a lot of those people don't think of themselves as gamers.
Right.
They're kind of passing the time.
Apple's owned those casual gamers.
Yeah. Well, even
iPad.
Apple put gaming in Apple TV, and I don't think that took off to any meaningful degree.
Yeah.
So how does Google, what is Google's brand with gamers? Like, what does it mean to gamers? I don't know that it means a lot.
Yeah, I said this yesterday when we were covering the event. No Twitch gamer is moving to YouTube because of this.
I don't think so.
Right.
Any more than YouTube stars moved to Facebook when Facebook proffered all that money, right? You've got a platform, you've got a community, and you're making money. You're not going to move. But this is a nascent industry. There's going to be a lot more players in this.
And it is humongous. But the other thing, is weird. I don't know if, Leo, if you guys ever talked about this aspect of it. Apple next week is going to introduce its own video service. And the thing that's weird about it is they're making content for it, right? They're not just delivering it to the users.
It's very Apple, by the way.
But now Google's going to do the same thing in gaming.
Yeah.
And I have to kind of wonder why, right? Because
but is
it's
that
hard
the
to get
case?
into
I mean, they have but Ubisoft was there. Won't games be ported to this as well? I mean, I think.
Why would they be? I mean, it is kind of a chicken and the egg thing. As a developer of a game, you've already got the major consoles, all of which you probably don't support as it is. You've got PC, and then you make casual games that appear on the web or on devices.
Unreal Engine, Unity, Havoc, all the engines that current AAA titles are written on.
I'm sure Xbox One does too, and so does the PC. And so
I'm just saying
that
it's not going to be as big a rewrite as all that. The engine,
but it's still
ports
another
over.
code base you have to maintain.
Yeah.
I mean, I just with an unknown user base.
No, it's
from a company that has no experience in gaming.
There are a lot of question marks, clearly, about this.
But I'm just curious about the.
I think from the
making of content.
From the consumer point of view, the pitch is I don't have to buy gaming hardware.
No, I love it. Yeah. No, it's a good idea.
And I don't think it's going to woo people who have consoles or gaming PCs in any respect. They already have invested in all that. So this is all about the next generation.
Well, consider, for sure. But consider the PlayStation gamer today or the Xbox One gamer today. And those companies come out with a comparable streaming service to Google's, except that they both offer some subscription where you can gain access to the games from all the previous consoles. Or you've purchased games on Xbox One, and guess what? Those, you have them. That you already bought them. They're yours.
That's exactly right. That's why it's for people who are starting from a clean slate. I mean, who don't have anything. And the whole thing, a lot of questions. All you need is a Fortnite. If you had a killer game, and this has always been true, right? The killer app, right? If you had a killer game, if Fortnite or something like it came out exclusively on Stadia, game over, right? Maybe, but why would anyone put that game only on Stadia? You know, it's because Google gives them $1 billion.
Okay. All right.
No, seriously. They're going to buy content.
Yeah, I know. And we're going to hear from people who live in rural areas or areas with terrible internet connectivity or spotty
It's not going to work for them.
And they're going to say, it's not going to work in a submarine, guys. We get it. You know, that's a thing.
This is definitely.
What about on a cruise ship? Is it going to work on a cruise ship?
Yeah, maybe not.
Well, by the way, the coming wave of 5G infrastructure is going to benefit this thing greatly, right? I mean, you know what?
That's going to be, that'll happen.
in 1998, when the Windows 98 came out and the Plus Pack for Windows 98, which included like this beautiful CD player application for Windows, the size of a single MP3 file was so great that I couldn't really even store an album's worth of this stuff on my computer's hard drive. So today you can download an MP3 or an equivalent, AAC file, whatever.
Seconds.
You don't even notice it. It's over.
Boom.
Now, if you want to download like an HD or 4K movie from iTunes or something, it's going to take a little while. It's going to take a little while. But over 5G, supposedly that will be seconds. We'll see. Even minutes would be great. It's fine. But a lot of these games are too big to make that kind of transition, which is why streaming them.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes this viable, right? Because, I can assure you the Master Chief Collection, which probably weighs in at like 120-something gigabytes, I'm not sure exactly. It's some humongous thing. Nobody's downloading that to a phone.
Right.
No, but
I happen to have a terabyte on my Samsung, so I am.
That's what I was just
I'm putting on that on my phone. I have to do something with all this storage.
That's right. And all those, all that RAM too, right? You have 12 gigs of RAM and that thing?
Yeah.
That's a gaming PC.
It's a
crazy.
gaming PC on a phone. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Yes. So it's one of the. It's a very googly announcement or any Silicon Valley announcement where you get all excited and then the devil's in the details.
And then the dust settles. You're like, well,
did they even give a date? Like, no, it's going to be available by blah.
This year.
They said this year. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's like December 31st at 11:59 p.m.
Yeah, lots of stuff's going to happen this year.
But I mean, xCloud isn't even going to be out in test form until the end of this year.
Yeah, next
year.
But
the end of this year. Right? Yeah. They're probably on the same time frame.
Holiday.
They're not alone.
Holiday season.
Unfortunately, Google
Amazon's going to announce something.
Google's reputation not only does it not have a gaming reputation, but their reputation is as the killer of products.
Yes. And by the way,
that is not to be dismissed. My wife refuses to adopt any new Google products because she said, well, they're just going to kill it.
So I'm about partway through a very long dissertation on this service, and that was one of the things I kind of addressed, because if you listen to the language that Sundar Pichai used in the beginning, he never addressed that exactly. He's never going to say, look, I know we have a terrible habit of killing things. but he really emphasized how important this was. This is the next big thing for Google. And when you look at the size of the market, when you understand that gaming is bigger than any other entertainment thing on earth, including movies, like Hollywood blockbusters and so forth, the potential is there to make a killing if you come out, if this thing is successful. And yes, I guess it could fail horribly and then it just pulls it on live and disappears. I don't know. And I think there's also the chance that after all this hoo-ha about the web and low latency and blah, blah, blah. Version 2 is going to come out next year with rich client support because blah, blah, blah. It, as it turns out, it's better if we can download some assets to your phone or whatever, so we'll see. But I don't know, the way they talked about it, it's, well, I guess they do that with everything. I don't know. Is the Pixel Slate Google's next big thing too? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it's already
Microsoft
over.
does this too, right?
Everybody, it's Silicon Valley. It's very
bet the
Silicon
company
Valley.
on blah, 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 right?
Yeah. Right. They never said bet the company, but I don't know.
They might as well have.
I appreciate what they're doing. I just have a hard time understanding how it's going to succeed. Not for technical reasons, but
No, it's reasonable. This is
market acceptance.
Reality distortion field. It's reasonable to get excited at the announcement and then for reality to set in and think, well, we'll just have to wait and see.
Maybe.
I know, but this is a lesson we should have learned when we were 12, when you egerly anticipated that Star Wars action set on Christmas Day, and then it arrived and you were
exactly.
I'm 12.
Yeah.
Why am I playing with this toy?
Exactly.
This is every product, isn't it? Like when new smartphones come out, right? Everyone's like, yes. And then you're like, and it's okay.
It's the great hazard of being a tech journalist is falling for this stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're the ones who are supposed to be sober and reflective, not cheering for HoloLens on our feet.
Okay, thank you. I was just gonna say, I got it, Leo. I got it.
I'm just teasing you.
HoloLens groupie, Paul Thoron.
It's a fine balance because you, at the same time, you don't want to be like Dvorak and just say, it's all crap.
No.
Everything's crap.
No. If you're not excited ever, you shouldn't be in this field anymore, right?
This is a thrilling business to be in. And it's thrilling what we're doing.
Alive, honestly. When I came up in this industry, I thought I had missed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That first gen of like the Apples and the Microsofts and the Lotuses and the WordPerfect, I thought that stuff had all come and go. I thought it was over. I missed it.
That was a universal sensation. I vividly remember 20 years ago, we thought, oh my God, I missed it. It's over.
Yeah.
And boy, were we wrong,
No, and all kinds of awesome stuff
it's
has
just
happened.
beginning.
Yeah.
It really is just beginning. Now I just don't want to die before it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't live long enough to see
I
it.
can put the headset on my head. Like I could be strapped to a hospital gurney, but as long as it looks, smells, and feels like I'm in a Paris cafe.
Exactly.
Put me in the drawer. I'm done.
Exactly. I'm hoping that I will survive long enough to be in a jar and live forever. Yeah. That's my goal. It's reasonable, I think. We're this close.
No, it's no wonder I'm excited about HoloLens. It's a step down that path.
Meanwhile, back in reality land, a.k.a. the EU,
right?
Google's in deep doo-doo all round.
What I just realized was I had written this thing. Google has now charged the EU has now charged Google with 3 antitrust violations, right? With regards to Android online shopping and now online advertising. They have fined them a record amount of money with regards to the Android bit. And it is 10 years in. And that's kind of interesting because I would say that Microsoft's antitrust timeframe was about 10 years, Yeah. And in fact, it was 10 years ago this year that Microsoft came out with the notion of a browser ballot box. Remember that little piece of stupid UI? And I went back and researched this. I had forgotten about something. Microsoft's original idea for the EU was that they were going to come out with something called the Windows 7 E editions. And the E editions were not going to include Internet Explorer, just the application, because obviously they'd integrated it in so far. And the EU said, no, that does not meet the requirements of our complaint. And so they went back to the drawing boards and they came up with 2 things. Well, there were a bunch of things, but 2 things related to that. One is the browser ballot, which became known as the browser choice screen, right? Where they listed all the browsers. And then the other one was the N editions. And the N editions addressed one of the other parts of the complaint with regards to other bundled applications like Media Player and Skype and some other things. Those ideas were terrible. I don't think we could say
kind of failed, right? I mean, nothing came of them.
Well, nothing came of it. But what's interesting is here we are 10 years later. actually, 10 years later. It seems like more than 10 years. 10 years later. And the notion of a platform where you have a choice of browsers is very common, right? Except on iOS. Android does it. Windows today still does it. They tried to screw with it, remember, last year or 2 years ago? Got a lot of negative feedback, and now that was
It was
dropped.
an accident, wasn't it?
Yeah, just kidding. It's not like riding a bike. We get it. And I'm not saying it came out of that, but the notion of that being like an open part of the system and something that users can change is interesting. It's persisted. And Chrome today has roughly 65% usage share on both mobile and desktop. And at that time in 2009, Internet Explorer had 63%, I think, but roughly the same exact usage share when this came crashing down on them. So 10 years after, it doesn't seem like, it must be, why does it seem like longer than 10 years? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Google has been dealing with this now for 10 years. And I don't think that Google has been hobbled to the same degree as Microsoft has. And they have not been as belligerent toward the EU or to antitrust regulators as Microsoft was, both in the United States and in Europe. And even today, they keep coming up with concessions. They're like, okay, well, how about if we do this, and we'll do this, and we'll do this. Like they have literally issued now, I think, half a dozen concessions to change Android. Now, some of them have been kind of persnickety, like we're going to break out Google Play services in our apps and then charge more for them. That's kind of a cute Microsoft thing to do. But honestly, but they've made some real concessions. It's kind of interesting. I feel like they've kind of learned from the Microsoft experience.
Except it just keeps happening over and over, right? And they don't really seem like they care. In fact, I think it was Seattle Times today.
Yeah,
I think it was the Seattle Times who had a little snippet from one of Google's SEC filings, I think it was, and it said they just have EU antitrust fines as a line item in their expenses. They don't even care. It's like, we're going to pay the EU some millions, billions, whatever.
Yeah, so this number is probably wrong, but I think what I saw when I looked this up was that they made $127 billion in revenues last year. And so if they pay 14 or 15 billion in fines, it's like, so we just get to keep going. It's like,
exactly.
I mean, they've already established Android as the dominant computing platform. I don't think any changes they make are going to harm that right now, for sure. So
it's a different time too. When Microsoft was going through the antitrust stuff, it was a very belligerent company with Bill Gates, being very temperamental about the whole depositions and all. But I feel like Google is just like, okay, we're sorry, haha. Right, here's the money. Yeah. Well, it's kind of a different way.
But whatever. And Google also. Google certainly dominates certain markets. They dominate online search. Yeah. They dominate mobile. They dominate advertising. Sure, they arguably have a monopoly in all of those markets, and probably a few others. But they still. It's still, maybe this is just a perception thing, but Microsoft was basically the sole gatekeeper to personal computing for about 20 years there. And Google is not. It would be difficult, but you could survive online without Google if you wanted to. I mean, and there are lots of people who choose the Apple route and probably use other services as well. I mean, you can do it. Microsoft had a real stranglehold on things in a way that I don't think any of these tech giants today really do.
Yeah.
Oh, but that literally means to the browser ballot thing. The reason I mentioned it, one of the things they offered to do is have a browser ballot. Yeah. They didn't call it that.
I can get Sleepnear finally. I can get Sleepnear on my Android device.
I know. It's like...
No, they probably looked at Microsoft and they're like, nobody used any other browser when they did it, so let's just do it. Okay.
Yep. By the way, speaking of which, one of the other things I had completely forgotten about, but when I looked this stuff up, the EU complained against Microsoft that turned into that gigantic antitrust thing. Yeah. That came about because Opera complained that
That's
Microsoft
right.
was locking them out of Windows. I completely forgot that.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's been such a success for Opera.
Well, they did double their market share since then, Leo, from 1.7% to 3.4%.
Wow.
But or the usage share. Yeah.
Wow.
So, mission accomplished.
How's the laptop search going, Mary Jo, by the way?
I'm going to be trying a new laptop next week, courtesy of Mr. Thurrott.
Which one?
An HP.
Yeah.
Yeah, EliteBook X360.
Yeah.
Gonna give it a whirl.
I'm thinking you might. I don't know. I'm thinking of waiting till next month when the Huawei MateBook Pro 10 or X.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's a good point.
Everyone likes that. Likes
the
their
reviews I'm reading.
books. Everyone loves it.
They're
so yeah,
incredible.
They're good. They're good.
And
you may not like the keyboard. The keyboard is a little bit towards the MacBook style, not quite as bad.
Well, but no, everybody's saying it's got much better travel. In fact, the next web who today reviewed it and said it's the best laptop he's ever used in his whole life, and he's never giving it up.
Wow.
Who said that?
The next web. I'll find his name.
Well, no,
okay,
I reviewed the previous version last year, and I'm looking at the MateBook 13 right now. It is literally one of the best laptops I've ever used in my life. Yeah. But the reason I recommended the HP, and I think you should look at it, is the EliteBooks have what I now consider to be the very best typing experience.
See, that's what I'm looking for. Better than Lenovo, even.
Yeah. Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Better than the Surface devices. It's excellent.
The Surface devices.
I like the keyboards, but when you when I see you next week, I'll be using the 14-inch version of the same laptop, so you can kind of look at them side by side or whatever. But the keyboard is basically
I don't want that
the same.
big one.
I think you probably want the 13.
Yeah. This is what is the Huawei 14 or is it 13?
No, it's 13.
Yeah, but it's
I don't
91,
need a giant screen.
It's 91%, so it's so screen bezel.
Yeah.
The review was Matthew Hughes. He says the 2019 Huawei MateBook X Pro is the best laptop I've ever used. Ever. And,
Until next week.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he's one of those fanboy types or not, but it's a pretty positive review. And by the way, he says he likes the keyboard. He says Ultrabook keyboards aren't that good. The best example of this, of course, the MacBook Pro. The good news is this is an issue here. I'd be as bold to say the MateBook X Pro is the best keyboard on any laptop, save for perhaps the Lenovo ThinkPad T580, which is the king, as far as I'm looking at a 470 right here in my hands, and I really like those keyboards. But I have to, if you say that EliteBook X360 is a good keyboard, I'm gonna have to try it.
I mean, there's no one computer I would say, look, this is the best. Every computer has some thing, and there's plus and minus, whatever. But there's a group of computers that kind of sit at the top. The X1 Carbon and X1 Yoga are right there.
Those are great.
The HP EliteBooks are right there. The HP Spectres have kind of been there. The new one I'm not quite sure about, but they've been in the running. Those MateBook X Pro, amazing. It's just amazing. And this is a personal thing maybe, but the 3x2 screen, the trackpad, and the keyboard on the Surface laptop and the Surface Book 2 are amazing.
Yeah. Well, and this is a 3x2 as well. I really think 3x2 is a nice way to go.
And it's when you look at the HPs, they're 16 by 9.
I like that.
But
I like that they're not 3x2.
Oh,
okay. But I mean,
that's so funny because Notepad is really better on a 3x2.
All you got to do is fill the rest of the bezel in. It will be 3x2.
What are you typing? 120 character lines? What?
No, you know what? I feel like 3x2 is it shows me too much information, and it feels information dense to me.
I see what you're saying.
It's weird. When I'm looking at my
Major League when they're like it's too high.
No, like when I'm looking at email, I feel like I'm seeing too many messages.
Too much
I want to see fewer.
Yeah. Less email. That's always.
You'll love the HP. It has a 16:9 display.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, maybe that may be the thing to push you over.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think I'm going to buy the Huawei, and then we'll.
Yeah, let us know if it's the best
Paul,
ever.
I reviewed the last generation, and this is pretty much the same, just with you have a bigger hard drive and a slightly updated processor and GPU.
Well, the one con that I remember from the last gen was that little peekaboo camera thing and the key.
Yeah, and that's still there. It's a key. It's on the function key row.
I don't like that.
But A, I never use it. And B, I do like the fact that it's physically obscured when you're not using it. You don't have to put it's
right. So
no piece of tape necessary.
No, this one doesn't have it. Some of the new HPs have a physical privacy switch for the and the ThinkPad has implemented that on the X1s.
And then the fingerprint on the Huawei is Windows Hello compatible, so that's nice.
Yep. Yeah, but that's common.
That's pretty standard. Yeah. I don't know. That isn't even in your rundown. I like to ask every week.
Sure.
Because I'm kind of thinking,
We'll talk to her next week. We'll see what she says.
Good. That's good. It's nice to have friends.
It is.
Friends in the biz.
It is.
And I'm guessing you're going to put Windows 10 on there?
I am.
Well,
yep.
Yeah.
I just got 1809 on my HP a couple days ago.
Woo!
Without seeking.
No seeking, it just
happened
happened.
as well.
Wow.
Actually, I think it was the I think it's just called the Spectre, that leather version.
Oh, yeah.
You have the Folio?
The Folio.
I don't have the Folio.
Do you have the Folio, Paul?
Well, I think I got that. I think I just got 1809 on that PC.
Wait, I want to step back. You have the leather HP. I was thinking about that. No, wait a minute. You said though it's too heavy.
It's heavy, isn't it?
It's a little dense. It's a Y series processor, and it's not actually completely terrible. Obviously, there's been nice advances there, but
I like it. It's like a pigskin.
It works well on the Mac. It's not as good on Windows.
Okay,
that's the way I would put it. But it's a nice computer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a good keyboard.
19H1.
Yeah, let's just skip through this. So there have been like 21 builds of 19H1 since the last time we talked. They are clearly finishing this thing up. So they released a build yesterday, and then they released a build today.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen. So this is end of the road stuff. So the build they released today was literally one number incremented up. It had one fix. I think they're
getting close.
Yeah. We can't say the R word, but they're shooting for it.
But you know what? It's called 1903, which means they want to RTM in March. So March ends next week.
Right.
Just saying.
So I think we're seeing the end game here. Kind of like when Hitler was in his bunker.
Just like that.
Just like that. Just like that.
Just to put it in historical terms.
Yeah. OneDrive music streaming to the Groove app. I don't even know what this means. Isn't Groove gone?
Yeah.
No. Groove Music Pass is gone. So and Groove on mobile is gone because the primary usage of that app was to stream, the music service, which doesn't exist anymore. But the thing they've kept going, there's a Groove Music app on Windows, which, by the way, is still pretty great. Like I've always liked the Groove Music app. It's a good app. Mm-hmm. To date, the way it's worked is you can play music locally. So if you've installed or loaded music onto your computer, obviously it will find that, throw up album art. You can play it and so forth. But if you store music up in OneDrive, that can automatically populate inside the client as well, and it will just stream alongside the local music if you have.
I'm doing it right now. Yeah, that's nice. I like.
Well,
that.
Don't, because they're turning it off.
Oh, what? I just discovered it.
Yeah, don't do this, Leo. You'll just be disappointed.
What?
You don't want to start crying again for the death of Groove Music again.
I think it's the end of the month when this is happening, or maybe it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's sometime. Is it tomorrow?
It's March 30th or something. It's like 30th, soon. Okay. Right?
Yeah, so sometime soon they're going to turn off this ability.
Well, what do I do
to
play?
Shame.
I have all my music in OneDrive. What do I use to play it now?
Yeah, well, you can't nothing from OneDrive. You can play it in OneDrive, which is stupid. But
no, that's not a good interface.
The beauty of Groove was that you could do this. Like you could have your own music up in OneDrive plus the music their collection.
Yeah,
and I specifically put stuff in OneDrive that wasn't in the cloud collection. Right, I have live recordings or whatever they are, and now it's all gone. Soon it will all be gone. So the equivalent of this exists in two different places. Google still offers this capability through Google Play Music. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe even without paying Google, you can upload 50,000 songs for free and then stream it to any device.
Oh, all right.
And so that would be my advice. If you're an Apple person, Apple has something called iTunes Match. Same deal. We'll take your music collection off of your computer, put it up in the cloud, and you can stream it to all of your devices. If you subscribe to Apple Music, you can stream those things together. If you have Spotify, it's way more convoluted, but you can put music on a computer. You can have Spotify on the computer. You can mix and match those things. But if you want to get that on mobile as well and have your playlist be complete, et cetera, you have to make sure to copy the music locally up to the device, up to every device. It won't stream that stuff, which is too bad.
I bet you there's some easy way to, without downloading everything from OneDrive, then uploading it to Google Music. There must be a way to move it from OneDrive to music.
Yeah, so I haven't looked at this in a while, but probably back when Groove Music Pass went away and Microsoft started advertising Spotify. I think I had a pick. This is probably a year and a half ago. It was a service that would pull music from one service and put it in another.
Yeah,
and maybe
that's what I need. I bet there's stuff still that does.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't know how much music you have, but yeah, I don't know.
My biggest question about this is why are they doing it?
Flow will do it.
Why are they doing it? Yeah. Well,
because why couldn't they just leave that sitting over there and let people use the Groove interface? Like, what is it hurting anybody? Nothing, right?
I wonder if they're so obviously if your music is in OneDrive, they're not going to remove it or anything. It will still be there. I mean, it's not super accessible, but you can download it, whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, some people say, "Oh, you think they're going to open source Groove? Do you think they're going to get rid of Groove, the app?" I mean, you need an app in Windows that can play local music or a downloaded audio file or whatever. I mean, Google. Groove is kind of a big app for that, but it is what's built in. So yeah, I don't know. It's terrible. No. It's like, look, there are apps.
It's like kicking people when they're down. It is like people
but
are
Groove
just
is a good.
People. Everybody's like, wait, I already I stopped using Groove Music Pass. Now you're doing this. Why?
I know. I'd like, how many indignities are we going to be forced to endure?
And then I also had the conspiracy theorists who said, I know why they're doing this. It's because Microsoft's going to buy Spotify, and Spotify demanded they do this. I'm like, nope, and nope. No.
So when Groove Music Pass went away, I talked to someone from Microsoft, and I won't name this individual because, I'll just privately hate him for this lie. But I asked him, Spotify doesn't have this functionality where you can have music up in OneDrive and stream.
Yeah.
Are you going to offer that through Spotify? And he said, yeah, we're talking to Spotify about that. And, we'll see what happens. But that's a goal that we have, and nothing. I mean, that would make everything okay, I think, for a lot of people, because you'd be switching, from one music service to another for the same price. And then you could still have your music where it already is, which I think would be great for people. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to.
If you're on Android, there's a double twist app called Cloud Player. The chat room's telling me that will play from OneDrive, Dropbox, and Google Drive.
Yeah. Double Twist, the company that used to do something with iTunes Sync.
Yeah, they cracked it. And Double Twist makes a really nice set of apps. Okay. So it has Chromecast and AirPlay support too. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But that's not solving it on Windows.
You want to look for is broad compatibility with the streaming stuff. I mean, the Google app will do Chromecast, obviously, and if it's on an iPhone, you can just use AirPlay. Yeah. Through iOS.
Okay.
Sorry, what was that? Did you have a second app? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and there's Mover.io. There are a lot of places designed to move you from one cloud to the other.
I think that might be the one I recommend.
There's a ton of them that do this, it turns out.
Yeah.
So that's probably the thing to do is just move it to Google Drive. And if it's on Google Drive, does Google Music see it?
That I don't know. I upload it directly to Google Play Music.
Yeah, which requires a download.
And of course, there's a weird feature there too, right? Because YouTube Music is going to combine with Google Play Music at some point.
Right.
YouTube Music today offers a couple of interesting advantages over Google Play Music, including the ability to stream like concerts that might be on YouTube or things that are just aren't on normal albums. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
But you can't access those from Google Play Music today.
So I one Kopaka in our chat room says that you can't just move it to Google Drive and see it in Google Music. You have to actually do what you're doing, Paul, which is download it from OneDrive and upload it to Google Play Music. Speaking of Android, you love your Mate phone, your Huawei Mate phone. You don't worry about the Chinese government spying on you, Paul. You don't care.
Oh, I embrace it, Leo. Listen, I'm waiting for them to invite me to help them overtake the U.S. government.
There you
I'm
go.
right on board.
Here we are. President Xi. Just don't share any pictures of Winnie the Pooh and you're fine.
Yep. Genuflecting before our Chinese superiors. No, You're
not concerned.
So how do I say this?
He can't respond now.
I think about it. I don't worry about. I guess I don't worry.
What
about
are they?
it.
Who? What? They don't want you.
What is it that you think? What are the Chinese going to get from me exactly?
Nothing.
Pictures of
they
my
don't
kids
want you.
doing.
Yeah, they don't want you.
Yeah.
But anyway, if the invasion happens, you're going to be the first.
Right. Oh, I'm well placed to be a general, and so
they're going to. Thurrott, we've been watching you, Paul, and we'd just like to invite you.
I've been very positive about their products online. I expect them to remember that.
Whatever you do, don't go to Shenyun or anything like that. You just got to keep your nose clean. That's all I'm saying. They probably are.
Well, we'll talk about my travel schedule later. Anyway, the
Shenyun is that you've surely, maybe not in Lower Macungie Valley, but I know, Mary Jo, you've seen posters and billboards for it all over New York City. And the New Yorker just published an article about it. We see it all over here, too, because there's nine touring troops. What I didn't know is it's a propaganda show from Falun Gong.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
No, I didn't know that.
And whatever your feelings about Falun Gong, I'm thinking if you carry a Huawei phone into a Shenyun concert, you're opening yourself up to some trouble.
Your head explodes.
Or you're opening yourself up for some protection. You know?
Well, they don't like Falun Gong in China. You understand that, right?
I see.
So it's the other way around. So, in fact, there's apparently all this anti-Chinese government propaganda in this show that purports to show 5,000 years
anti-Chinese
It's
government.
anti-Chinese. Their Falun Gong is a religious group that was banned because they were becoming too popular in China. And so Shenyun, which looks like, cultural exchange with mainland China, is actually out of Upper New York State.
That's amazing.
You got to read this New Yorker article. It's like, what?
Okay, I'm sorry.
At the end of it, Karl Marx descends into the ocean. There's all this weird stuff. So anyway.
Karl Marx?
Yeah, it's a long story. Anywho, don't carry your Huawei phone in there. However, I thought it was interesting and not surprising. So you got to, if you look at it from the other point of view, the Chinese probably are thinking the same thing about Microsoft Surface in China and Windows in China. And
well, actually, what they're worried about is like a U.S. governmental ban, right? If like that, the U.S. government will somehow prevent Microsoft and Google from doing business with them, and so Huawei in this case has admitted publicly that they have created alternatives to Windows and Android.
Wow!
As a plan B in case everything goes south.
I think that's prudent. I think
so too. It's interesting they talked about it, and of course it leads to the obvious question of, well, what are these things? And cynically, I've had people say, well, obviously they stole the source code to Windows, and it just I don't think
probably Linux.
That's what I think. I think the desktop is basically Linux, and then on Android, honestly, or a mobile, you could probably just use an ASOP type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just out there, so
yeah. Exactly.
I don't think it's anything dramatic.
Yeah.
It's going to be. Listen, if we get to the point where they have to put Linux on computers, things have gone horribly south. At that point,
you're a desktop Linux.
Mm-hmm. Yep, in China.
By the way, I just want to mention that you can buy that Huawei MateBook X Pro with confidence because it in fact runs Linux quite nicely. So
actually, since you're mentioning that, it's also $200 off this week at participating retailers in the United States, including Amazon.
Because the new one's coming. Yeah, and I think in order to get in this market, they priced it pretty low anyway. This thing was a deal. Yeah, for sure. I was comparing it to the XPS, the HP, and a Lenovo, and it, for the power, it was
hundreds less. Yeah, and then compare it to the MacBook Pro, which is what they're really trying to compete with, and it's. Get it's a 2-for-1 sale.
2-for-1, right?
Yeah.
Windows 7 users, it's not you, it's us.
No, it's
What was it?
Okay, so yesterday, a number of Windows 7 users, including myself, noticed that our PCs could not be scanned by Microsoft Security Essentials. When you tried to scan it, it made it look like something was wrong. You got a message coming up that said your PC cannot be scanned, and then you need to uninstall and reinstall your virus protection, blah, blah, blah. So all it really was there was a corrupted definition that Microsoft had to supersede with another definition. I'll tell you, at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon when my mom called and was ranting, she's like,
Nice.
I don't know what's wrong. I'm getting a message. My PC, it can't scan. I just did some online banking. And you know what? I'm sure they've got my credentials. I'm like, Mom,
Oh my
calm
God.
down.
Oh
Nope,
no.
Yikes.
nope,
Wow.
nope.
Once again,
She's
I
like, I'm
find
getting a
myself in the
message.
awkward position of recommending a Chromebook to your mother.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards this, guys, I have to say, because this is the kind of thing where I'm like, oh boy. And everyone's like, get your mother off Windows 7. You know what? Windows 7 is supported till January. She could be on Windows 7 till January.
Yeah.
And I know things like this happen, but nobody could get an answer from Microsoft for hours about what was going on. Luckily, some of my friends were telling me what was happening in the background, so I could write something to keep people a little calmer. But yeah, if you saw those messages pop up yesterday, it's all good today. But that's what was going on.
Also, if someone from Microsoft calls you about this, just talk to them.
Right.
It's probably-
Yeah. Let them on your system. They'll fix it.
Yeah.
What a heyday.
Yeah.
What a wonderful time to be
Oh,
a
man.
Microsoft scammer.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I don't
like a
know what
target-rich
popped up on my...
environment.
Yeah.
No, my mom saw some pop up. She goes, and Daisy is trying to help me. I'm like, Mom, do not click on that.
Oh,
I'm just like, no.
Daisy.
I was like, okay.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah. So yesterday was a rough little day for, and again, the kind of people who get hit by this are people who don't really know what's going on. It's people
Sure.
who see this warning pop up and they're like,
So
something's
frustrating.
wrong.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah. Chromebook.
Yeah.
Chromebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
frustrating.
looking that way. Unless somehow there can be a miracle between now and January 2020 with Windows 10.
Boy. Yeah, I wouldn't count on that.
No.
Well, but you will have Edgium, or is it Chredge?
This thing has got to be getting close, right?
Credge.
I keep putting Credge. Credge/Edgium, the Chromium-based Edge. All this stuff keeps leaking. This week, the installer leaked. An FAQ leaked. There were screenshots that leaked. And so far, the code itself that will let people run it has not leaked. And people are running it in Microsoft, but not outside. So, yeah.
Yep.
We think it's close.
What's really odd is that Microsoft has released a Chrome extension and a Firefox extension that supposedly makes you safer by...
I put that as my pick.
Is that your pick?
So.
Okay, so we'll save it. We'll save it. Steve was really mocking it yesterday, but I'll let you guys talk about
that's interesting.
What it does. In a nutshell, it puts Edge in your Chrome, which is funny because Microsoft seems to be wanting to go the other way. But that's okay. So anyway, let's pause. I will recoup. And we will continue with Office and Xbox, and yes, the back of the book picks and tips in just a bit. But first, a word from our sponsor, ExpressVPN. There is but one. There can be but one. We all know that a VPN is the best way to surf. It protects your privacy, not only from that hacker in the corner at the coffee shop, but frankly, from the worst folks at your internet service provider who are watching everything you're doing and selling it to the highest bidder. Nowadays, people want privacy. They want security, and the best way to do it is with a VPN. Your traffic is encrypted from your computer to the VPN server, and nobody in the middle can see what you're doing, so you're secure. You also have the benefit of emerging into the open internet at the location of your choosing. And that's one of the great things about ExpressVPN. They have 160 servers all over the world, so you can emerge in almost anywhere in the world, eliminating geographic restrictions and preserving your privacy. And it's helpful because you can choose a server that's closer to you for better performance, and nobody's better and faster than ExpressVPN. You won't even know you're on a VPN. They have apps for every platform, Windows, Mac, Android, iOS. One button click turns on the VPN or turns it off. It secures and anonymizes your internet browsing by encrypting your data, hiding your public IP address, and it couldn't be easier to use. So I want you to try it. ExpressVPN is rated the #1 VPN service by TechRadar, and that is saying something. And they don't log. They read the privacy policy. They don't keep track of anything. They are exactly what you're looking for in a VPN. It's really important before you buy a VPN. And by the way, a free VPN, forget it. They're making money somehow. Nobody runs a VPN service for free. And if they're not charging you for it, they're injecting ads. They're monitoring your traffic. They're doing something to make money. So, just keep that in mind. Read the privacy policy. I highly recommend it. But also read the news story. This happened, was it a year ago? In Turkey, they arrested a dissident and found out he was using ExpressVPN to communicate with the outside world. And so the Turkish authorities seized ExpressVPN servers. This was December 2017. They figured, well, he's using a VPN. There'll be a log of all of his traffic, everything he's doing. Nope. The server held no useful information because ExpressVPN works. Actually, this was the case of the assassination of the Russian ambassador to Turkey, Andrei Karlov. That's what this was. I'm looking at it now. Turkish authorities, let's see, an off-duty Turkish police officer shot and killed him. Turkish authorities were hoping a VPN server operated by ExpressVPN, they said, was used to hide details regarding the assassination. They raided the data center. They confiscated the server. Nothing. Nothing there. ExpressVPN masks a user's real IP address, encrypts the internet traffic, and keeps no log of user's activity or any other identifying information. Sorry. Now, that's bad news for that Russian ambassador, but it's good news for you. And for less than $7 a month, you can get exactly the same ExpressVPN protection I use whenever I'm online. ExpressVPN, the #1 VPN service. Right now, you can get 3 extra months when you buy a 1-year package at expressvpn.com/Windows. ExpressVPN, ExpressVPN.com/Windows. An extra 3 months free with a 1-year package. Don't ask me how to spell VPN. But I will spell Express, EXPRESS, expressvpn.com/Windows. Back to the show we go, and I think this would be a fitting time to speak about the fabulous new Office logos.
Which Mary Jo, I see, has issued a bit of commentary about for some reason.
We are not going to talk about the logos again, are we?
No, okay. Mary Jo,
no,
I don't know why it's in the rundown. It says...
They're starting
yeah, you know who put it there.
Woohoo.
Well, fine. Okay. I don't care.
No, go ahead. What did you want to say about the new logos?
We already talked
You've
last
seen
week
them.
about how terrible they are.
No, that they're
right?
happening. No, before they were just a design, but now when I see them
official.
on Inside Preview in Windows, I see them in Outlook on Android. I've seen your phone on Android.
By the way, I did join the Insider program on my Surface Go.
Yep.
It's still,
could you ever get that to work?
Still downloading. It's such that computer, not the snappiest performer.
So you know what we found out?
What?
You know what we found out though about that Your Phone screen application, the screen mirroring? It's only going to 20% of insiders, I believe, because they're doing a test, which they never put in the blog post.
Right. So how would I turn it on? Is there an app?
There's an app on your phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. We normally, when if it's a Windows only feature that is locked down, Raphael usually can break into those. This, I don't know if it requires something.
I hope Raphael's using ExpressVPN. That's all I'm saying.
I think he's pretty safe.
Yeah,
he
knows what he's doing. Yeah. We won't talk about his OPSEC.
Right. Well, I couldn't explain it if I had to. So.
Oh, so I may not have gotten it even after.
You might not have gotten it.
That's true.
It took me almost a week to get it.
Well, they'll probably expand it over time.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, they're going to expand.
I'll take a look because I'm excited. I like the idea.
Yeah.
Microsoft Teams. It's been a little bit slow going, catching up, but they've certainly got a lot of adoption, and they are adapting. They've added more integrations. I think it's getting more and more competitive with the big boy Slack.
Yep.
2 years old now. I didn't realize it had been around that long.
It's actually a little longer than that, right? This is 2 years from GA.
Okay, yeah, 2 years from GA. That's right. Yep. And now they're up to 500,000 organizational users worldwide, they said, which is up from 330,000 in September. So it's growing pretty quick.
Yeah. You think that's because of the free tier?
In part, probably.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it comes with Office 365.
Right.
It does.
You got it already. It's
the big number there to me is the 19 is it 19? No, 91 of the Fortune 100 has deployed Teams, right? And those are Office 365 customers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Right. But they're starting to get features that a lot of people have been asking about. At least they're talking about the rough timing for when they're coming. Like one that a lot of people ask about are secure private channels. And they said this week that that's going to be later this year. So they hadn't really said when that would come. And Slack had that like over a year ago. They also showed off the new ability to put a fake background behind you, custom backgrounds, which I'm sure we'll be using on Windows Weekly at some point.
You mean you're not? That's actually your house?
That's my real house.
What?
Paul's, though, I don't know. That background he has, I'm not sure about that.
The Turkish prison background?
It is as real as
my bookshelf.
I'm pretty sure I saw it on Google Images. I'm just saying.
I wish it was a green screen. I'd like to put something else there every once in a while.
Well, you might be able to if we ever use Teams. Well, Skype is getting video blurring behind it too, right? So
we might also have that capability.
Yeah,
video blurring. Yeah. I'd like to use that, but I use the Windows 10 client because I was told that was the one to use.
Yeah. What else? Coming soon, live captions for Teams meetings. Oh, and they showed off this really weird and cool camera thing where they're going to be able to let you add a USB camera to your setup if you're in a Teams meeting. So you know when people are writing on the whiteboard and you're in a meeting and you're trying to watch it and the guy's right in front of the board and you can't see what he's writing? So this camera is going to give you another angle. And so even if somebody's standing right in front of it, you're going to be able to see the whiteboard if you're remotely participating in a meeting.
It too, right?
Right. That's pretty cool. That'd be really handy for like sneaking into a Microsoft meeting.
It's like, is it called the reach around cam? You just got kind of just goes around.
Oh, and they also showed or talked about a capability where if you've got stuff on a digital whiteboard, you're going to be able to, take content from a physical whiteboard, capture it, and put it on a digital whiteboard without having to re-enter it all from scratch. Like you'll just be able to start with the image that you had, which also, when you're doing a really complex diagram or you have some like really heavy duty text up there that you don't want to rewrite, that would be handy.
Oh, yeah.
Paul's shaking his head.
I wouldn't count on
that. I think I've told this story, but like when the tablet PC first came out, I was in a meeting and this guy's, so there was all this stuff up on the whiteboard. And he said, "This is why having a tablet PC is great. I can, I'm writing down everything that's on that board." And I pulled up my digital camera and I was like, click.
Yeah. You're like, there you go.
I have to be like a courtroom artist, like accurately duplicate this thing. I don't know.
Yeah, so all that's coming soon. A lot of them are like coming soon or coming later this year, but at least there's some rough time frame for it.
Good.
Yeah.
And it feels like we already talked about the Xbox, but let's do it again.
Yeah, what the heck?
What the hey? Always fun.
No, there's some more. There's some other stuff.
Before on the wall.
Yeah. Before the Google announcement, it had occurred to me, Mary Jo thought this, I thought this, a lot of industry pundits thought this, Microsoft loses billions of dollars a year probably on Xbox. Why did they keep it going for so long? It seems like they should have spun it off. Or sold it, except that now, actually, it's pretty cool that they kept it because all of a sudden it makes tons of sense in the context of this new strategy they have. And, as per our Google discussion earlier, it gives them an enormous advantage over Google, which is starting from scratch because it has all this stuff it can bring forward for gamers, right? And it's kind of a way to leverage as a gamer, to leverage your years of investment into Xbox games and so forth. So it's kind of a cool thing how that turned out, because you can't look back and say there was someone over in the corner going, see, I told you guys, I always said this is why they should keep it. Nobody was talking about this, They should have sold it off, but good thing they didn't. It's just kind of an interesting, I guess it's an irony that they didn't. Anyway, that's pretty cool. And actually, one of these stories is a Mary Jo story.
It is.
How's that for irony, folks?
Yeah.
GameStack?
Guys, GameStack. Okay, so you know what GameStack is?
No.
Microsoft took all these things they have for developers, and they're like, you know what? What if we made a little bundle out of this and called it a thing? Let's call it GameStack.
Huh.
And what's in GameStack? The usual things like Xbox Live and Mixer, but also Azure, Power BI, and PlayFab, that company that they bought a year ago. They're taking all the PlayFab services and making them Azure services now. So the idea is, hey, if you are a game developer, you can buy one or all of the things in this GameStack bundle and use it to develop games, not just for Azure, but for other clouds also. So Microsoft's going after their developer roots, and they're saying, we've got developer tools. We've got developers. How about if we actually put these two things together and target game developers? Very smart.
Speaking of which, we should have mentioned this. Visual Studio was one of the partners at the Google event, right? And that's
at the Google event? They were?
Yes.
As was Havoc.
Right.
Havoc, right? Yep.
That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, everybody wants to show they're good partners and good citizens and agnostic about the cloud platforms.
What a strange world we've found ourselves in.
Very true.
I like it.
Yeah, because Visual Studio and Havoc are also part of GameStack.
Yeah.
Microsoft's Play. Yeah. Yeah, that was my story.
Is not from Mary Jo, but it is sort of about Mary Jo.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
So a month or so ago, there were rumors that Microsoft was bringing Xbox Live to the Switch in addition to mobile, right?
Oh.
And they've since made the announcement about mobile. And then today, all of a sudden, they announced that they were bringing Cuphead to Nintendo Switch. But the real story here, in a way, is the Xbox Live integration, right? You're going to get achievements and all the other Xbox Live stuff. So they're actually bringing the whole, they are, in fact, they've revealed this today, this GameStack stuff and the cross-platform Xbox Live. Nintendo Switch is going to be part of it. And that always made tons of sense to me. And I think Cuphead is a great game for the Switch. Hopefully, they will release it with a normal difficulty level that's actually normal, because it's a really hard game.
Hard.
Yeah. And you think about the typical Switch user. I mean, we don't want any of these people to cry or anything, but, it's a really cool game. This isn't in the notes, but they also announced separately, I think, that there's a major update coming to Cuphead on all platforms where they're going to redo a bunch of animations, allow you to play with Mughead, I think it is, Cuphead's brother, I guess, or friend, instead of Cuphead, if you want to do that kind of thing. And he has his own music and blah, 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 whatever. But so there's a big kind of a Cuphead thing happening today if you are a fan of that game. And I think that, like I said, I think it's going to be cool on the Switch. It's a good idea.
I'm just glad that all my Cuphead achievements will continue over.
Yeah, so you're leveraging the investment.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, because I put a lot of time into that Cuphead there. Working hard on my Cuphead.
What about Mughead, though? Everybody wants to know.
What about Mughead?
What's that game there? Florey's, what is that? Is that like a, what do you call it, Fallout or something?
No, We Happy Few. Remember that was an Xbox with gold, games with gold freebie. Oh, it's kind of weird. I like the dystopian future it's a part of.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, where do I see my achievements? Because I know I've got some.
If you go up to My Games, you just want to see achievements.
I want to see how well I've done in Cuphead.
Right.
Because I spent a lot.
Have you done well in Cuphead? Have you actually made progress in Cuphead?
No, my kid has, but I pretend it's me.
Well, as long as they do it on your account, who cares?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I'm the king of Cuphead. I think they
click on achievement. See the achievement.
I think they beat it. I think they
There's an achievements link or under the yellow logo there.
Achievements. Let's see. Look at all that. Well, I'm only halfway there. I got.
Well, that doesn't mean they didn't complete the game.
Right. Butter and Egg Man, High Roller, Souls Saved, Swing You Sinners, Selling Out, Casino Night, A Trip Downtown. I got them all, man.
That's pretty impressive.
Pretty good, huh?
Yep.
That is, you know how much wasted time that is? You know how many times?
What do you mean wasted time?
You know how many? You know how many times? How many hours it takes for each achievement? Well, I know exactly. 10,727 minutes.
Does it actually say that?
Yeah.
That's funny.
How many hours is 10,727 minutes? You do the math.
Jeez. 1,727.
It's
That's
a lot.
a lot of time playing Cuphead.
That can't be right.
No, it isn't. It's,
Wait, you just divide by 60, right?
yeah, that'll give you the number.
That's 179 hours.
Yeah,
that
that's
can't be
right.
right.
No, that's right.
That can't be right.
I'm number one among my friends.
Yeah, you might be number one among the world.
It's such a hard game. You probably had to take some time to really master it.
Yeah,
right?
this game progress is wrong, though. There's something wrong. Right?
I'm just trying to give you an out.
I think that's because I started over. That's why.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, pretty good.
That's not bad.
10,000 minutes playing Cuphead.
Oh, God, I don't even want to look at that. That's that's a sobering little statistic right there.
It's a 16-year-old. That's a 16-year-old in the 21st century right there in a nutshell. That's not even his favorite game.
Jeez. Really?
It's 178.7833 hours of good times. He's sailing through high school. Straight A student. I don't know how.
Well, actually, I mean, then who cares?
Yeah, right.
You know.
Exactly. I don't want to see, I don't know what his main game is these days. I think Siege. I think he and his buddies play Siege together.
Okay.
This was just like he's just, if I asked him, he said, "Oh yeah, I'm done with Cuphead. That's not that much fun."
Oh, of course. No, that was
179 hours ago.
Yeah, right. Yes, exactly.
That's a full-time job for like what is it, 4 or 5 weeks? That's like crazy.
I mean, 179 divided by 8.
That's 4.5 weeks.
That's 2
full-time,
months.
yeah.
Well, actually, that's more than 2 months because you
long
only work
time.
5 days a week. So it's
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Many, many days. Our show today brought to you by Wasabi. Now, this is hot. You have a life. You want to go home and play Cuphead, right? You don't want to spend a lot of hours trying to figure out how you can jam all of that data into the cloud for less. If you're shopping cloud providers, and I know you're going to look at the big three. Of course, you're going to look at Azure and Google and Amazon, the king of the hill, their S3 service. But I want you to add a fourth name to your shopping list: Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. My buddies, David Friend, Jeff Flowers, the guys who created Carbonite. One of the secret sauces of Carbonite was they had patented a revolutionary disk storage process. It lays data on the disk sequentially rather than in blocks, and it gave them a real leg up at Carbonite. And they said, this would really be a useful technology in cloud storage. And in fact, it is. Storage 80% cheaper and 6 times the speed of S3. It's 80% less expensive, but you get 6 times the speed of S3, and it's S3 compatible. The API is exactly the same, so you can use all your S3 tools, all your knowledge. And unlike S3, there's one tier of service and free unlimited egress, which makes it great for planning and budgeting. However many times we access this data, it's not going to cost us anything. Free unlimited egress. Oh, there's another feature I really like, and I think a lot of companies will want to use, especially in this age of ransomware. You can designate any part of your Wasabi hot cloud storage immutable. It can't be changed. So ransomware runs rampant. Is it just yesterday, the big Norsk aluminum, I think like number 1 or number 2 aluminum manufacturers in the world, many of their plants were offline thanks to ransomware. So you got immutable storage. Even if ransomware hits, your data is safe. It's also safe from Joey in accounting. Man, that Joey, you can't trust him for anything. It's also completely secure, probably more secure than your on-premises storage. Let's face it. Joey doesn't have access to it, for one thing. It's HIPAA compliant, FINRA, CJIS, And if you have a lot of data to migrate, you can do it fast with the Wasabi ball. This is something they pioneered at Carbonite. They've got it for the cloud storage too for Wasabi. The Wasabi ball lets you migrate petabytes of data simply, quickly, securely. You're up and running in no time. I think Wasabi is pretty amazing. This is a hot up-and-comer in cloud storage, and you would be doing yourself a favor to just check them out. And you can already start daydreaming about the plaudits you'll receive from your boss when you say, "Boss, we're saving 80%," and it's 6 times faster. Here's the deal. Go to Wasabi, W-A-S-A-B-I, wasabi.com. Click the free trial link. Use the code Windows. The free trial normally is a terabyte of data. Unlimited when you use the offer code Windows. Unlimited for a month. That's wasabi.com, offer code Windows. You have 30 days to try it with unlimited storage to really see what it's like. Bang on it. Wasabi, 80% cheaper, 6 times the speed, super reliability, super security, no charge for egress, 1 tier of service. Wasabi.com. Don't forget the offer code Windows. That's also so they know that you heard it here. Now it's time for the back of the book. And
I'm trying to rectify how much time your son has spent in this game with how much time I've spent in Call of Duty, and it doesn't seem possible, but he played that game like way more than I played Call of Duty.
No, you got many more hours.
This is almost a career for me. I'm curious.
He's following in your footsteps.
Time. Okay,
you have to be really dedicated.
Impressive.
You got to be dedicated. Let me see what other games he's got here. I mean, I bet you that's not even the most.
Can you sort them by hours played? I mean, how does
that would be a good idea. Some of these are mine. Like I know I've spent many fruitless and boring hours at playing No Man's Sky.
Sure.
Let me see. What is he? He likes layers. Is that? No, that's not his. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the other games are PC or on Steam. I think they're on Steam.
How did you saw this on Xbox.com or in the Xbox app?
Yeah, Xbox.com.
Why is it so bright?
I mean, Goat Simulator. Well, I'll tell you why, Paul. It's that wall. It's that wall you got. Mr. Thurrott, tear down that wall.
I wish I could. I wish I could flip it up like a curtain or like a shade. You get a green screen and we'll put a wall behind you when you do the thing with Brad Sands. Sure.
We'll do something else for you. Let me just see. I'm just curious. Goat Simulator. Just curious how many hours I played Goat Simulator.
Career.
Go see your Call of Duty career hours. Go ahead.
It literally calls it a career. I don't know.
It's your new career.
What it's trying to say.
It's your new career. Oh, here you go. Mortal Kombat X.
Mm-hmm.
I know he likes that.
Okay.
Let's see his achievements in Mortal Kombat X.
No, but I want to see the game time.
All right. Okay, you're being called out, Michael. You're being called out.
Getting a little distracted here.
He's only got 58,000 minutes in that. He only got 58,000. He's done better in this, though. He's completed 1,282 matches, and he's not even number one among his friends for the number of matches.
I need a careers thing for how many beers I've had. I think I'd be,
well, actually, you have that, Mary Jo. It's called
Tapped Out.
The
Untapped. Yeah, but it doesn't feel like I can look at it as my career.
No, because you're a purist and you don't check in beers more than once, do you?
I do sometimes, yeah.
Okay, you should.
I do want to make one point. People say video games make kids violent.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to say that Michael has killed 237 people in Mortal Kombat 10 and not one in real life.
Oh, I can outdo that.
How many deaths?
I killed 43,000 people in Call of Duty.
You actually single-handedly won the war.
That's just the latest version of the game.
Oh, my God.
I've killed 0 people in real life that I'm aware of.
After this podcast, it might be 1.
All right. Okay. And meanwhile, Paul's got a real productivity tip for his tip of the week.
Happy to hear it's kind of Xbox related. Microsoft this past week opened up the the Halo Insider program, which is available on the Halo. Oh, I just forgot the name of it. The Halo Wayside. That doesn't seem right. Let me look.
K-side? Keyside?
Nope. It's Way something. Sorry.
Waymo better?
Jeez. The Halo Waypoint. Thank you. I knew that was wrong. Halo Waypoint website, which is halowaypoint.com. And when you can sign up for it, you can actually sign up to potentially be selected for Xbox or Windows. But of course, on the Windows side, what you're going to be testing are pre-release versions of the games in the Halo Master Collection before they arrive on the PC, which is very desirable, right? So we had the old unremastered versions of Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2 on the PC like a million years ago. But from Halo 3 on, those games have never been on the PC. So that's really cool. If you're interested in Halo, that is coming soon. And then 2 quick app picks. Last week I was talking about podcasting. I ended up picking Castbox. One of the interesting things about because it basically duplicates everything I wanted used to like in Pocket Cast and can't stand it anymore. The only downside to Castbox that I could find was that there's no way you have to pay for it. It's you don't have to pay for it. I'm sorry, it's ad supported. But if you want to pay for it, it's $1 a month, which is not a terrible fee. But I'd rather just pay for it and own it and not have to pay for it forever. And actually, you can do that. It's not built into the UI yet, but they gave me the code for it. It's $15 if you want to buy it. And if you go into personal redeem, all one word, all lowercase, it's premium sub 2 IAP is the code. And I'll put that into the notes for the show. If you want to pay for it, it's $15. So it's a great app. It's cross-platform. It works on the web as well. It does all the cloud-based sync. The UI is really obvious. Works great. Chromecast works all the time, unlike, say, on Pocket Cast, which is turned into a piece of crap.
That's really too bad. And by the way, the Pocket Cast is the number 2 client our audience uses after iTunes. So maybe we make this recommendation to Castbox.
Maybe they fix it. You know, they've already indicated they've seen the feedback and they released a 0.01 release, whatever it is.
They're
whatever.
owned by public radio now. That really worried me a little bit.
Okay.
Castbox. Okay. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Now you have to pay for it.
No, you don't have to. So it's ad supported. So the way it works is there's the default view is their Discover screen, which is where they kind of sell you on shows or whatever.
Yeah, we're never on any of those screens, unfortunately.
Yeah. So if you pay for it, one of the things you get is there's no ads at all, which I would never see the ads anyway because I listen to audio podcasts, so it's in my pocket. I don't really see the ads, but you can also determine what your homepage is. So I made it the library page.
Really, more people listen to the Ron Burgundy podcast than Windows Weekly. Is that what they're telling me? Is that what they're saying?
Listen, I'm open to doing the mustache thing if you think that would make a difference.
Sure, good-looking fella.
Yikes.
It always bugs me that we for some reason, maybe because we've been around too long. Sure. Everybody knows about us, I guess.
Maybe it's because Rob Burgundy is funnier than Windows. I don't know.
That's probably true too. Yeah.
Who is Rob Burgundy?
Ron Burgundy.
He's the pretend anchor from.
Wait a minute.
Anchorman,
You've never seen Anchorman?
No.
No, you should see Anchorman. It's funny.
Yeah, I think even you would laugh at Anchorman.
I hate funny things.
The Anchorman fight. I hate funny things.
I'm putting that on your tombstone, Mary Jo.
Guys, I don't like comedy. I don't like comedy clubs. I don't like comedians.
You don't like to laugh?
I like laughing, but not at forced things.
I see what you're saying. It's
you know what I mean?
Contrived. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're trying to be funny. You want somebody just funny.
Exactly.
Without trying so hard.
Right.
Well, Will Ferrell is hilarious. Sorry, one more quick other pick.
Yes.
Firefox 66 came out this week, and one of its new features is the default setting of blocking all autoplay content by default. So it's not just silence in videos. It is literally preventing them from playing. And so if a website has just an audio stream or audio and video, it will actually prevent that. So
you brought this on yourself, CNET. That's all I can say.
Yes, they did.
Why does everyone point? What's the CNET thing? A bunch of people have mentioned CNET with regards to this. Is CNET just a particularly bad site for this?
Yeah, CNET, Bloomberg does this.
Yeah.
Where they just start the channel. Just boom.
Yep.
And then you scroll down and it goes down to a little window. And
you can't even get rid of it. You can't go past it.
No, at least on ZDNet, when we do autoplay, if you shut it off inside the browser, it's done. Like it doesn't sneak down to the corner.
I'm going to go to CNET and look at this because I don't often go to CNET.
Bloomberg does it too.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, but that's really, browser creators are now having to do something about it.
Yep. It's good. I'm glad to see they're doing it.
I am too. I use the Brave browser, which is like a Chromium version with that also blocks autoplay video. It's good. Enterprise pick of the week, Mary Jo.
Right. Well, we're talking about browsers. Let's talk about the new Windows Defender application guard extensions for Chrome and Firefox.
I feel like this came up before.
Yeah, well.
It did, briefly.
What do you think?
So Windows Defender Application Guard is that Microsoft technology that isolates potentially malicious URLs in a container. Happens to be Hyper-V enabled container. So right now, up until now, this has only been available in Edge. But Microsoft's created these extensions. It's also going to let this work in Chrome and Firefox. The catch is when it isolates you in the container, it opens you in Edge. Like it takes you to Edge, even if you're using Chrome or Firefox. And I know some people are like, wait, isn't Microsoft throwing in the towel and they're doing Chromium-based Edge? Like, why are they doing this? So the thing to remember is Microsoft's not throwing in the towel on Edge. They still want a lot of people to use Edge. It's just going to be a different Edge. So I don't think this is as crazy as some people. Sounds like Steve Gibson thought this was weird.
He's not an Edge fan, understand. He doesn't want
I understand.
He doesn't want to be an Edge.
There are not a lot of Edge fans right now. There are like 2% of all browser users or 3%, somewhere around there.
I'm Edge curious.
I think his mocking came from the feeling this was really more marketing than security. But you know, a sandbox is a sandbox.
No, and people like Defender Application Guard. They find it useful. It's a good feature. In fact, it's one of Edge's best features, perhaps, might I say. So I think it's good that they're giving people the option to do it. If you don't like being, having your container open in Edge, then it's probably not for you. I also wanted to bring up the subject of my rant last week about Microsoft automatically removing faulty updates, because I was saying they threw this feature out there. No one's tested it. It seems really crazy. So I want to give you an update on that. Since last Windows Weekly, we found out that feature, the Microsoft's going to start removing faulty driver and cumulative updates from Windows 10 machines, is a 19H1 feature. So this is coming in build 1903. And people who say they haven't tested it, the reason is you have tested it without knowing it. It only has been tested by people who had this happen to them. So if you had a faulty driver update or you had a faulty cumulative update, it automatically rolled you back and you saw a message, hopefully, or you will when this comes out, to say to customers, we've removed some recently installed updates to recover your device from a startup failure. So this has been in testing. It's just only been tested with people who had that happen. I still think Microsoft did a terrible job of documenting this, but at least now we know it's coming in 1903, and that's how it's going to work. Just in case you were curious about that. I know a lot of IT pros were saying they were worried because they were curious how it was going to affect their already set up procedures. So, I guess you need to be testing 1903 and see how this is going to work out for you. Not great.
All right. Yep. And now, the Codename Pick of the Week.
Codename Pick of the Week is Zipline, which is a pretty cool code name. And the reason they use Zipline, as you will hear, is it's the code name for Microsoft's cloud compression algorithm and related hardware implementations for cloud storage. So if you can believe this, Microsoft actually is open sourcing the compression algorithm it uses itself for Azure. That's a pretty big secret to be revealing. And they're also donating this to the Open Compute project so that other vendors can help them evolve the spec and use it themselves if they would like. So get it, Zipline is the code name because of zip and compression.
Is it related to zip though? They don't. Do they use zip?
No, but if you think about compression, you're zipping it up. That's my guess why they're using
zip. Zipline is actually a compression format. That's one reason.
Right. They're not using zip. No.
Okay, so that's a little confusing, but okay.
No, this is for like data centers, and it's a proprietary compression algorithm that they developed.
Nice.
For Azure.
Yeah.
Yep. So the code name is Project Zipline. They announced this last week, and Microsoft's already done a lot of this open sourcing and donating to the Open Compute project, things that they've been using internally for Azure. Nice. So this is just a continuation of that.
It's a better name than Project Tar, for instance. That wouldn't.
Yeah, Tar. That's a tough one.
It wouldn't be as good. Now let's get some beer under our hood. I forgot to mention the first day of spring.
Oh. It is.
Yeah, so we should choose a springy beer.
I think I have chosen a springy-ish beer. My choice is BFM square root of 225. That's the real name of the beer.
That's how many hours my son has played Cuphead, actually. Completely coincidentally.
Here's why it's called that, which is kind of fun. So BFM is the Brasserie de Franche-Montagne in Switzerland, BFM. And they have made a barrel-aged Saison. It's called the square root of 225 because it's their 15th anniversary Saison. And 15 is the square root of 225.
Amazing.
How nerdy is that?
Mm-hmm. It's nerdy.
So it's a typical Belgian Saison, fairly light in alcohol, 5%. And it's aged in Swiss barrels from Abbaye de Saint-de-Bonchien for 4 months. I just had this recently. It's really good. If you like Saisons and you want something with a little kind of je ne sais quoi, this is your beer.
I love Saisons, and it does feel like a spring beer, right?
It does.
Mary Jo, I have a beer-related announcement of sorts that you might be interested in.
Do you?
Which is last weekend, for the first time since I started this keto thing, I actually did drink an entire beer.
What?
Now, it was 5 ounces, so it wasn't particularly big. But it was a Belgian quad, which is a lot like a barley wine beer.
Yum, yum.
Yeah.
The guy next to me at the bar was drinking it, and I was like, you know what?
Screw this keto. I'm going to have a beer.
No, it was small. It was like a little, it was like a shot. So.
And you liked it.
It happened.
You felt okay afterwards? It's Nothing bad happened? You felt good?
I felt fine. Yeah, it was okay. I'm not going to do this every weekend or anything, but it was.
Right. You picked a good beer to do it with.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would have done it with a normal beer, but.
Yeah. Yeah, I had an Impossible Burger yesterday.
Ooh, what'd you think?
And,
Did you have it at White Castle?
No, I did not have it at White Castle.
What's the non-meat item?
Nothing.
Oh, what is the name of it? It's got a funny name.
No, there's a thing that is surprisingly good as meat.
Seitan or something, but it's not.
I think that's it. It's not Seitan.
No, Seitan doesn't really taste like meat.
It was something my daughter got one time that we were all like, "This is meat." Like it was really good.
I mean,
she felt like she was cheating on her, her lifestyle or whatever. Yeah, whatever it was. I thought it was Seitan, but maybe it was something else.
Now, the Impossible Burger uses some kind of a weird. I'm trying to find it.
It's textured wheat protein, coconut oil, potato protein, natural flavors. Leg hemoglobin. That's to fake the blood. It's a soy product.
It's a soy product.
It drips red leg hemoglobin, yeast extract, soy protein isolate, konjac gum, xanthan gum, and a variety of vitamins,
spices.
So,
and some meat.
Oh, actually, no. They've replaced the wheat with soy protein because of gluten.
It smells. And to me, tastes really meaty.
Yeah, it's supposed to be very good.
Did it feel weird then, kind of eating it, right? Did you feel like you were doing something wrong? Yeah.
It did. I kept lifting up the lettuce, looking at it. I'm like, is this really a vegetarian burger?
See, that's how you know you're doing it right.
Did you have it at Burger
And the guy
King?
next to me goes, I don't know what that is, but I want one. And I'm like, it's a vegetarian burger.
That's why they use the leg hemoglobin, because it makes it look like it's dripping juices.
Yeah. Nice.
It was really juicy. It tasted to me, I haven't eaten a hamburger in like 25 years, but it tasted like a hamburger.
Where did you have this?
I had it at a place in New York called the Jeffrey, which is a craft beer place.
Nice. I'm glad you've tried it.
No, that sounds cool.
It just made me think of Paul like doing a quad, and I'm like, and I did something really uncharacteristic.
Well, we're having confessions
Nice.
on this week's episode of Windows Weekly Confessions.
Food daily.
And they have replaced the wheat protein with the soy protein concentrate, so that it's not
it was
gluten-y.
It was worth tasting for sure. I don't know if I would seek it out, but it was something to try.
It's a transitional object for those people who are moving to vegetarianism.
Yeah, I feel like that's more who it's for.
Yeah, you don't need a burger.
No, I'm like, I like bean burgers with beets in them better.
Yeah. I think the thing about a burger, though, is it's that combination of tastes and textures.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I get it. Yeah. Like I don't eat burgers with bread, but I kind of miss that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, this has been fascinating, but I think I'm going to have to wrap it up now.
Fine.
I don't know how we get so off track so many times.
Hey, we do really want to thank our special guest. It was great to kick off the show with Lorraine Bardeen. She was she is the general manager of Dynamics 365 mixed reality and perception apps at Microsoft, and got a lot of insight into the plans for HoloLens and Dynamics 365.
I don't feel like I complimented HoloLens enough. Do you think I could?
Yeah, maybe we should redo it. Call Lorraine back. We're gonna. We need to kiss her ass some more.
I don't know what happened.
Whoa!
All right. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Can you edit that part out? Thank you.
They're just like, yeah, Leo, and then they're like, just throw it out there.
They leave it all in every time I ask to edit it out. They do the audio equivalent of underlining it.
Right. It was like call focus to it.
Call it out. They turn it up.
I want to jump forward right to this point.
They put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
And then Leo said, Paul Thurrott is at Thurrott.com, THUROTT.com. He's also a published author, and his most recent book, The Field Guide to Windows 10, is available at leanpub.com, a must-have if you have Windows 10. It's always being updated. Mary Jo Foley writes regularly, like every 5 minutes, at allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's her ZDNet site. And between them, they know it all. That's why we get them on every Wednesday, about 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. That would be about 1800 UTC for Windows Weekly. You could tune in and watch live or listen live at twit.tv/live. You could chat in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. And you can subscribe with your favorite podcast app, including, what is that, Castbox? Pocket Casts, iTunes,
Your
Google.
new favorite podcasting app.
New favorite app, Castbox. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mary Jo. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.